Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. and I will call to order the Freetown Board of Selectmen meeting. This meeting will be recorded and will be available on our YouTube page. We will be going into executive session and then returning back into open session. We'll be going into executive session for the following reason. Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and I do, Charles Macupper. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Selectman Lopes?
Yes.
Selectman Zager?
Yes.
Selectman Matthews?
Yes. We're now in executive session. Welcome back, everyone. We are now back in open session. I'm going to move on to agenda item 2, which is executive session minutes from 4/23/2023. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve. I think there might be a misprint here.
4/24.
Because you didn't go into executive session.
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. Approve and release executive session minutes from 4/24/2023.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on is open session minutes from 4/6/2023. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the open session minutes, meeting minutes from 4/6/2023.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we have some updated annual and special town meeting warrants for 6/5/2023. So it looks like some dollar values have been updated for moderator to, right, the highlighted things are, the highlighted items are what?
I think a couple of things have happened. We removed the opioid articles because of timing.
Okay,
It'll be next year that the free cash, they'll be in free cash, so we did remove those. We removed the article for the $2,000 donation because you can't take taxpayers' dollars and put it into a donation fund, I found out, so we took that article off.
good to know.
I think on the special town meeting, that's the only things that might have changed. The only other thing is I added a warrant article to reclassify. There was an article to give $50,000, $500 for the backup generator at Chipaway Road for the water department. That was approved at last year's town meeting. We got the ARPA funds to do that project, so now while they're redoing all the meters in town, they're finding all kinds of problems with the water system, and they need money for repairs, big repairs. So we're asking to reallocate that article money that's already been allocated for water infrastructure repairs, hydrants, valves that won't open because nobody's tried to open them in 20 years, and now we get there and we can't, and things are breaking, and while they're out there doing this, it just makes more sense to try to fix these things as they become apparent. Other than that, the articles in terms of their specifics intent hasn't changed, I don't believe. I don't know if there's anything else. I don't know.
Well, I see some changes in Article 2 highlighted.
I'm sorry, the highlighting on that is because that's the, FinCom has to tell us what their recommendation is. So
Okay.
we don't have that. So anything
Gotcha.
that's yellow, they'll be plugging in there.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
And those are the requested amounts by those.
Excuse me.
There was another one on here regarding, gosh, what was it? The school. Which one is it? Maybe, is it on this one?
I don't think there's anything about the school, other than paying the school committee in Article 2.
Yes, is that the one?
Article 2, bottom of the first page of the annual.
So for that one, I guess I would like to wait to see what happens in the Lakeville election, special town meeting, annual meeting, I should say, next week. I think there's something on that article that kind of talks to this.
Okay.
So I would like to see what comes out of that. I plan on attending that meeting just to kind of see what that's about and what the response is.
So you're talking about like this, the $1,100 a year for the school committee?
Yes.
Isn't that what they're currently getting?
Yeah.
So there's no change.
No, I think they're, from my understanding, they're proposing a change in that.
To increase?
Increase or decrease, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to attend the meeting, go to the, sit in the non-resident section, quietly listen and see what happens. Because if they increase or decrease, that will have to change. So if we decide anything today, it just makes more work for us down the road. But by kicking it to the next meeting, I think it's what, the 15th, I believe?
Yes.
You have it on your agenda for that night to look
So-
at it one last time, and that's what
Okay.
we'll sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so if we approve everything now, then we'll have the opportunity to, okay,
Yeah,
that makes
perfect.
sense.
But that gives
One
us
more, there's one more
opportunity.
bite at the apple. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect.
All right, so,
In the I just want to say the water sewer enterprise fund, there were some changes to the budget into the budget, basically, not necessarily the language, but the budget. To change the indirect costs, they're an enterprise fund, so they pay a portion of the overhead and everything. They pay that was called indirect costs, and they actually pay those back to the town from their collection of the water
Yep.
fees. So
Yep.
that changed, so
On
the
page 2.
numbers changed.
yeah, okay, that's no big
I
deal.
think that's it, Luann. Do you recall anything else that we changed?
Yep. All right, so with that, we all good here?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve. So, oh, sorry.
You're gonna
Gonna
did you
open it.
open it? You're just gonna open it, and then we'll close it when the
Okay.
FinCom is
Yep.
here.
So I'll entertain a motion to open and actually I don't need. Do I need? I guess I do need a vote. Sorry. I'll entertain a motion to open and review the annual special town meeting warrants for 4/6/5/2023.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we have the weights and measurement fee schedule, which is we have a copy of that.
On the back of that.
Yep,
warrant.
I saw it. So gas meters, $25. And then the 0 to 100 pound scale is $25, 101 to 1,000 is 125, and then it's really then 1,001 to 10,000 is also 125.
Now, those stay the same or do they go up? I didn't see that in our.
I don't think we had
charged.
Yeah, we weren't charging
Okay,
before.
That's right.
So I guess where did we come up with the numbers? Did they come off of from someone else? Did we shoot them off the hip? I don't know. I'm not
Lola worked on this.
sorry.
Lola worked on it. We get the bill from the state, and it's going to be $6,226 starting July 1st. Currently, there aren't any fees being charged to the folks that use these services. So she worked the numbers to massage it, so she got within $1 of that by doing these. So basically, people that get the service will pay for the service now.
Yeah, pass through.
That's completely understandable.
All right, that makes sense to me.
I don't think anything's unreasonable like the amount that was there.
No.
No, it's, yeah.
We're just curious if we were in line with other people or,
That's a good question. Do we have any metrics from local communities as far as what they pay?
Yeah.
If any?
I know she researched and she gathered some information from other towns as well. And so they seem to be fairly in line with them as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
All right, great. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the weights and measure fee schedule to cover expenses for the service.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to agenda item 6. This is the agreement between the town of Freetown and Greater Bedford Regional Refuse Management District effective 7/1/2023 through 6/30/2025.
This is Creepo Hill.
Yeah. I'm trying to see how much it went up.
It wasn't bad. I can't remember the
I
number.
see it.
but
So
76.
$76 a ton. So July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 is $76 a ton. And then July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 is $81 a ton. I forget what exactly it is now, but it's in that ballpark.
It's around 74 or 72.
Yeah.
But don't forget, we did vet a lot of them last year, and they were still the most reasonably priced, but they're running out of room.
I know.
So this is a 2-year contract is great for us because it gives us some
Yeah,
breathing
every
room.
year since, the past 2 years that we've gone over this, we've had the same discussion about getting over to CMAP because we're dealing with something that's running out of space, right? They're not opening up more landfills. So one of the things we talked about was how do we get into there before there's everyone trying to get in? right? And we're just a small guy, so they're gonna take on bigger municipalities first. That, you know, are gonna pay more dollars.
I agree.
You know, I think at this point it's great. I think we should do this because we need it. We're not trying to recreate the wheel, but I do think it's something that we have to do something about
Yeah.
it because there is.
I struggle this way too, because if I remember correctly, I think CMAS was like over $100 a ton.
I was gonna say, we
It
did
was expensive.
call them last year, and it was a considerable,
And that's it's coming down. It's just a short-term fix we have right now. But I totally agree with you that, you know, like we don't want to be trucking this stuff down the Cape,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
or
Or putting it on a shipping container.
Yeah,
or anything.
so-
it's, yes, I agree.
that is a we just kind of have to open up those conversations, is, you know, just to see what, like,
Yeah.
if it's no big deal and we can just easily transition when we need to, that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, this is a good proactive measure, staying ahead of the curve before anything does happen.
Yeah.
So, no, this is a good idea.
All right, great.
Okay.
So with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the agreement between the town of Freetown and Greater New Bedford Regional Refuge Management District effective 7/1/2023 through 6/30/2025.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now we have a road opening permit for 8 Nick Drive.
Way down there.
It's a long contract.
I haven't seen it actually.
So it's a curb from the sidewalk to the house.
Okay.
Curb stub.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to look at this exact one, but
Yeah, it's way down there in the packet. Page 70, looks like.
thank you. 70 helps. All right. No one has issues. I mean, it seems to be no big deal.
It's just curbing. I don't
Curbing,
think
yeah.
There's anything.
It's pretty straightforward.
All right. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the road opening permit for 8 Nick Drive.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and then I'll kick it over for personnel.
Nice and easy today. All right, discussion agenda number 8. Discussion and vote on whether to approve the reappointment of Lisa Marie Podolsky, sorry if I said that wrong, as Animal Control Officer, Agent, Inspector of Animals effective 5/1/2023 through 4/30/2024. This was on our last agenda, but we were waiting for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Animal Health to give us her nominating authority form. It was received on April 24th, so this is just following through with our last meeting. I don't see any issues, but it's open for a discussion and a vote.
Okay, yeah, good to go.
All right.
Good.
I entertain the motion to approve the reappointment of Lisa Marie Podolsky as Animal Control Agent, Inspector of Animals effective 5/1/2023 through 4/30/2024.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, so that concludes the the Board of Selectmen and Personnel Board. Is there a quorum yet for, actually, I'll sign now and then, no? Okay.
Come join me.
Yeah.
Heavy.
I always, below, sign it below or above it? I was
signed both, but I don't know.
below it?
I was signed both.
Above it, that's what I was thinking.
I'd like to see my first signature to my most recent one, see how it's changed.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Got more doctorish.
Say it to you every single one.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Is that everything?
Well,
What are we asking?
those are
Which
all
one?
the, like, there are some articles that come from receipts reserved for appropriations, so.
Yeah, yeah, like
Cemetery and, cable act.
Yeah.
I've never had.
I have to know.
There's a cemetery, there's the
We're good.
COMP appropriation.
Yeah, the pods, that's
Yep.
Yeah, that's right, we got rid of Pike, and then we got rid of the, scholarship thing. So it's, hang on. You want to give you like a moment.
Should we go into recess or, all right, I'll issue a motion to go into recess.
Motion made.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
How much was that?
Recess is ended. We're now back in open session. Bob, third time's a try.
All right, 6:05, having a quorum, I will call our finance committee meeting to order.
All right.
So it looks like library, 611 is first. Oh.
Sorry, you said 611?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, does anyone have any specific questions around this one? Had a chance to review it and nothing jumps off the page for me. Please.
Has anything changed in the last, since we got these books over here?
I don't think so.
No. No.
This is gonna be 4,500 books and magazines. Is that books and magazines and tapes? Are those books and magazines gonna be specifically for this town? Or is that just part of sales?
So these are books and magazines that are in our locations. Obviously, they are lended out to other libraries as being part of the network. So other libraries lend to us. So they do sometimes circulate to other libraries, but they're in our location. But that also does include digital items as well. So obviously those aren't on location.
So the digital items, are they online?
Yes,
From
yep,
the library?
yep.
Yeah, but I'm done.
Nicole, have you had any applications for librarian yet?
Oh, we've had 6.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's in the works.
Yeah.
Any other finance have a question for Nicole?
All right, should we move on to 612?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
6:12 is,
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, sorry, my bad.
it's just nothing
I know, I
there.
thought she was getting up. I was like, wait, is there something? Yeah, there's just nothing there. Yeah, we're good. Thank you. All right. Carol, come on down.
Okay, so I want to preface this meeting by saying this was a rather difficult budget to go through. As you know, I'm in charge of 3 departments, 161, 162, and 163, town clerk, elections, and registrars. initially meeting with Deb and with Margaret, I had quite a few concerns, which I'll get into more on the election side. But again, a very difficult budget to put through or request based on all the mandates with the Votes Act and the state mandates. So with that, I would probably want to take the easiest budget first, which would be number 163, which is the registrars. In previous budget hearings, I've gone line by line. I'm not sure if that's what you'd like me to do today or if there's specific questions.
Unless the finance committee has a different opinion, I mean, I don't know if it's really necessary to go line by line.
Yeah.
There's a lot with, there's a lot here. I pretty much explained it on the attachments, but I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
It says 6 accounts for the department, 163.
Yep.
What's 163?
163 is the Board of Registrars. So
But it says accounts for department. I understand there's 6 accounts, but what does that mean?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
All the way at the bottom. Page 28.
That's the total, Bob. That's the total for the entire registration department. There's 6 accounts that make up her total budget of $13,629
The line
for the
items?
registrars.
6 line items?
Okay. Well, yeah, I've heard.
Does that make sense?
6 with a word.
It's the
One's
ones
at the
above
top
it.
of the paper.
It's page 28.
Yeah.
So all 6 on page.
Yeah, they're all on one page.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And you went from 9,000 to 13,000 on that.
Yep.
I think you should probably speak to the increase in elections, right? Because some of
Yeah,
this
that's
stuff-
going to be a monster to go over, so I figured I'd save that one for last. But it's kind of all into.
So I guess the reason why I bring that up, Cheryl, is because like printing and postage and stuff, is that part of the reason why this is going up?
So the three departments kind of commingle, correct? So there are certain functions of elections and voter registration that specifically pertain to the Board of Registrars. With the Votes Act in 2022, there were a lot of state mandates that went through to increase voter participation, and a lot of those requirements. Now there are several agencies. Most of you probably have gone to the RMV in the past few years, where you're updating your license for the real ID. One of those mandates was you're automatically registered to vote at the RMV. You're not given an option anymore. So because I'm connected to the state in our department rather than the town, all of those registrations come to us. If there is a minute change, you're changing your middle initial to your full middle name, which is what they're requiring for voter real ID, that becomes a change. I now have to send you notification via mail that your voter registration has been updated. Along with that, I also need to send you out a vote by mail application, whether or not we do have an election scheduled. So that is automatic. So every minute change, we're processing on average about 35 a day. And each one of those has to be looked at. It could be a signature, it could be an address change, it could be a name change. And it's not only the RMV, you have other state agencies as well that are doing voter registration. So if anyone goes to Social Security office, transitional assistance, welfare, SSI, any of those state agencies, you're automatically enrolled, and all of the work actually comes on us. On the flip side of that, now you have someone who isn't aware that they've now made a change to their voter registration. I have to send out the notification. We're getting an abundance of calls. What is going on? I've been a registered voter in this town for 40 years. Why are you sending me this notice? So on the backside, we're dealing with it on that end too. So you're spending 10 minutes on the phone explaining to someone, well, it's a good, I have to send those to you, and it's a good thing because in case there is some type of fraud, you're now made aware, and that's why the state mandates that we send those out. So that's voter registration, which then goes into elections. So a vote by mail is just a beast in itself.
So that makes sense. So what you're saying,
I guess the reason why I'm just trying to justify your increase, right? Why you're showing from $3,000 to $4,000 postage, right? So it's all
Yeah, and as you know, paper has gone up, postage continually increases. The amount of notices we have to mail out is absolutely crazy. We've done the calculations going into elections in the calendar year, not the fiscal year, but the calendar year of 2024. Out of the 52 weeks, 44 of those weeks will be strictly dedicated to doing election work. And that is just with the 4 scheduled elections for that calendar year. If we get thrown a special election.
So 2 questions, Cheryl.
Yes.
One, within the past year, I got my Real ID from the RMV.
Yep.
When I got the Real ID, they provided me all the paperwork needed. I don't believe I got anything from the town. So is that everybody, or is that because it has to be a name change?
It's most of them are name changes. Okay. So if you now with the Real ID, they request the birth certificate, marriage certificates, etc. If there's any slight change, even with your middle name, that's the most common. That's why I keep bringing it up. Your full complete name is on your license. That triggers a change. So.
And then I believe from the last
And then you're not notified, I'm sorry, at the RMV or those agencies, you're not notified that they are registering you or that you're making a change. It's an automatic thing. If they want to opt,
they gave me a piece of paper saying you're now registered ABC. So
yeah.
It has some minute language in there, but I get it. You have to keep your records up to date, which brings me to my second question. Last time I looked, or we discussed, or saw it online, we have about 66 registered voters in town. Maybe it's gone up, right? 6,600?
Yes, it's about 6,900. So it changes, that number changes consistently.
Now, looking at town elections in the past.
6,912, sorry to cut you off. 6,912.
So it's gone up, which is awesome. So looking at.
And that's the whole point, right? Of
sure.
Vote by mail, voter registration, making people accountable and access to voting. Yep.
So looking at the past few elections, looks like we have on average about 1,000 people per year at each election, right? I'm using that as almost like a baseline, right? 1,900, 1,100.
Are you speaking of annual town elections, or are you talking about state elections?
It's state election. At the most recent April 4th, 5th election we just had.
That's the local annual town election. I actually have the breakdown for that. So that was approximately 1,200. Yep.
The reason I asked the question is, I know other towns and cities, if you don't vote within X amount of years, you're removed from the voter registration. Do we do that?
So that is a state mandate. So what the regulation calls for is if you don't answer a town census, you're placed on an inactive list. The inactive list, if you don't sign a petition, if you don't answer a census, come June of that year, all registered voters receive a confirmation card. And it basically is state mandated where we have to provide postage to and from the voter, and it just goes out to the registered voters, not residents.
Yeah. I'm sure, do you know how many people have been removed from that list?
So, if I could just finish on that. So what happens is you get the confirmation card. If you reply to that, you get reactivated, well and good. But if there is no activity on your name or your account for 2 federal elections, approximately 4 years, you get automatically dropped off. So if you don't sign a petition, if you don't answer a census, if there's no activity, you don't come in to vote, state law, I can't just remove someone. I have to have absolutely no activity for 4 years. And that's what kicks off those confirmation cards effective June 1st. Once I run that report and send those out, that's when the time clock starts.
In kind of on the top of your head, unless you have it, how many people have been removed this year or the past year?
So I won't get those numbers until June 1st, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have an estimate, I think it's 765.
Being removed?
Being sent confirmation cards.
Okay.
To ask whether or not, I know you didn't answer the census, but are you still here?
Right, are you alive and everything else?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so any other questions on registrars before we move on to either town elections or town clerk or elections?
Town clerk, Becky,
Are you all set with registrars?
second?
Are you all set with registrars?
Oh, I'm also with that.
Okay. All right, so
Do we want to move into elections since I've already kind of started hitting on that, and then we can,
Actually, I can't actually understand what you're saying.
I'm sorry. Do you want me to go into elections since I've already kind of started with that and registrars intermingle?
I have questions about one of the
Okay, let me just grab that for you, for myself, if you don't mind, so I can follow along.
The salary from 62
Yep.
to 72, what percentage is that?
I believe that was 8.2%. I did do a survey.
That's okay, you did a survey of other towns.
I did with like towns, and the ones that we constantly compare ourselves to. I will tell you this, out of number 32, I am number 4, I'm number 29, 4 from the bottom. And I have that prepared if anyone wants to look at that, or if I can forward it if you want.
I don't. I just asked the question.
Yeah.
Percentage.
No, I just like to back it up with data, and I have that to
All right.
provide.
Any other questions on, okay, so I guess are we jump into
So we're on
Would that be
161.
Town clerk?
161 would be town
Okay.
clerk.
All right, I guess we'll just do that now if we started talking about it. So I guess want to speak to a little bit the decrease on 9025. So town clerical wages. Obviously, I know there's a logical reason here, but so that'd be the fourth account down. It goes from 56 to 18. I'm asking Cheryl to speak to the large decrease in town clerk clerical wage, salary and wages, right? Or am I misreading this?
Okay, so there was a decrease in the clerical.
Yeah.
So I had put in for last fiscal year, there was approved a part-time, or in the budget was approved for a part-time person. That was in July. We held interviews in November, and subsequently the person was hired and started in January. That person has now left.
Gotcha.
So we're still down that one clerical person. As you know, with elections now taking up 44 out of the 52 weeks, it's a lot for us to handle. We were already short as it was, never mind with the Votes Act and the increase in workload for those elections. That person would have been, the intent was to have that person alleviate a lot of the clerical day-to-day tasks, the phones, the information, emails, filing, dog licenses, which are a big thing at that time of year, and that kind of extends out a few months. I also promoted Tim McIntosh to assistant town clerk, so that's contractual increases there.
Okay.
I think that's, if I can just clarify, I think
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
question was that it
moving.
moved from the line above
Yeah, it moved-
because
it's
Tim
just
became the
it's-
assistant, yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry if I didn't answer that
Kind of
properly.
moved.
No, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
I don't think I asked it properly.
No, I could have misunderstood too. I got to tell you, like working, and Deb and Margaret can tell you, I really wanted to vomit with this. I don't like having to come and ask for money, but
It's part of the job, right?
it's part of the job. You just gotta do it and go forward. And like if you have the data to substantiate your request, that's all I can provide, and it's at the will.
And this is where we added some hours for your assistant to work 40 hours a week if necessary.
Yes, if
during all
necessary.
of those election weeks, because there's a lot of times when you have to stay at the town hall on Fridays till 5 o'clock because there's a deadline or that you have to be open
5
for people
o'clock
to
and then-
register. So to
and vote
try to
by mail.
alleviate that.
Yeah, and vote by mail. Some of you know because you live down in Minnesota, and you'll see our vehicles out there. You know, there were some weekends that we were there till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning doing election works because you can't get it done during the day.
so
And this is an issue going across statewide. Some of you who may have work in other communities or are aware of other communities, this is nothing new. All of the cities and towns are feeling this. We're all short. We're all asking for staffing. We're all asking for extra hands because the mandates are unbearable.
I'm going to ask the question. First, let me preface this by saying we appreciate everything you do as a town clerks. So this is just a numbers thing at this moment. 8%. That seems pretty high. It seems high.
It does, and I don't disagree with you.
It's high because then
It's high, but when you start off low and you're trying to catch up, I think, and I don't believe you were here last year, but Jared and Trevor can attest to the fact that, back in the day, it was seen as just a glorified secretarial job. That is not the case with the town clerk. And you coming on board and getting yourself familiarized with that, you can understand that. So, when you start off low and you're already starting to play the catch-up game, and that's why, again, I have the data to provide to you, comparison charts, which you can filter by any which way, size of community, voters, elected, appointed, population. I'm just trying to get myself somewhat in a more reasonable pay scale as to other towns and like communities. It does, when you say it's an 8.5% increase, I don't disagree with you. But I value the work that I do. I think I've progressed the office and the functions and tried to bring the office up to par and up to date and current and make efficiencies within the department. And again, I'm just trying to play catch up.
Right, and I agree with a lot of what you just said. At no point do I think your position is a secretarial or administrative job to begin with. So that's just, old timers' ideas of how things used to run and how things should be run. But still 8%. Mm-hmm. I got to look at it as a budget wise, and I look at towards the finance committee for some guidance here. If I had every department head come to me, if I had every department head say, "Hey, I need 8% increase," that'll stretch our budget quite a bit, and I got to be fiscally responsible. Not just I understand and we appreciate you, but also here on behalf of the 9,200 plus residents of the town. So 8%. It seems high.
Correct, and I'm using this form as well now with the technology for the voters at home, right? They don't understand what happens at meetings. They don't have time to attend. So the more we can be transparent and notify our voters and notify our townspeople where their money is going, I think it's a good thing. I will also add to that I believe I am the lowest paid department head.
Yeah, can I speak? And I'll speak to some of that too. So,
That's not
accurate.
at all.
Yeah, well, what I will say,
Or close to.
it's just that a lot of other, salaries in town are there's unions involved in there, so they're getting their contractual, COLAs every year and increases and all these other fringe benefit, types of benefits where, she has to get up here and ask for more money, right? And I think that we are behind the ball on this. So I don't think that that salary seems unreasonable to me at all.
I'd like to also point out too that I don't take advantage of the town health insurance. So that is not an added cost. And I am not eligible for the stipend for not obtaining or not participating in the health insurance. So that is something, when you're looking at salaries anywhere, right? You have to look at the total package. What are the benefits?
I look at things for retention, right? If town clerk walks out tomorrow, what are we gonna have to pay to get someone in that can bring the same value as Cheryl, without the fact of being a local person, right? Beyond that, just bringing someone in, I have a hard time believing that we would replace her at that. So, look at some of the other stuff. You're in charge of personnel. You've been involved with some of this stuff and knowing what we were paying versus what we have to do. And
Sure, it's gone up. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. So I would rather, and it's cheaper to retain an employee, and I want to make our employees happy. So I don't find it as being unreasonable.
No,
I think when you're backing
But
up,
from a fairness perspective, and I don't disagree, I appreciate everything Cheryl does too, but as a municipal employee, we all have to be treated fairly. If I know somebody's getting 8% and I'm only getting it 2%, and I'm not part of a bargaining group either, we want to be fair and consistent across the board. Not to say that she doesn't deserve it, but there might be another department head that deserves it just as much as she does that's not getting it.
so and I agree with that. I just feel like the numbers, right? They come to us with the numbers.
Because everybody here is underpaid.
Yeah,
It's
you're getting,
Yes.
you're not bringing her, you're seeing that what you're gonna go up to is only gonna put you at the middle of the road, right? So I think middle of the road is fine. I don't think that our employees are trying to get top-notch dollar.
No, I don't
And I don't think they should be paid. So I think based on our town and where we are, I think middle of the road is fine.
But do you think all your department heads or all your employees are middle of the road?
No, but I think
No.
they come to us with.
So how can you do it for one and not the others?
And the only reason why I say that is because of what we've done with union contracts, right? When I've been involved with union contracts, that was kind of our approach, right? Like we're not trying to make you the lowest paid, we're not trying to make you the highest paid. We need to get you somewhere in with like towns. So I understand both sides of the coin, and I'm not, so I guess I'm just trying to look at it from a different perspective.
Oh, I get both sides. Yeah, I agree both
trust me,
ways.
I know
It's
you
just,
look-
Like,
it's just
if they're, Cheryl came and asked for 8% raise every year, I think there is a catch up part of it, what she mentioned, right? Where it was, in 2020, it was 57,000, right? So I think that, and it has increased, I think, pretty fairly every year. We can't do 8%
Correct.
forever, right? Obviously, but I think that getting to us with our peers makes sense, and that's where we should be.
Right. Well, back to my original question. I look to the finance committee for guidance on this, right? So if all a lot of department heads would come to me and say, "Hey, Carlos, hey, board, we need 8%," that'd be a financial hit towards the town. And again, like I started saying, is we appreciate all your efforts. We truly do. But 8% is 8%. Looking at black and white numbers.
I just have a question on the staffing within the town clerk. So you have your assistant who is generally a 36-hour-a-week position, right? And
Correct.
they will be bumped up to 40 hours a week.
We put a little bit of a bumper
was just
to help
elections.
offset
and
the
then
elections.
there is another part-time clerk that's vacant right now.
That is vacant.
How many hours a week is
We have them scheduled for 16.
16? Okay, and you're full-time, obviously.
Correct.
The other comparable towns, how is their staffing in comparison?
Let me see if I have that. This is a rather large survey that I had put through, but you have Lakeville who has a third person part-time right now. She is trying to get that passed. I don't know how she made out with her, how she's going to make out with her town meeting there. Rehoboth, she has 3 full-time and a part-time. You have Dayton, who has
3 full-time and a part-time?
yeah.
Rehoboth has 3 full-time positions and 1 part-time position.
That's including the town clerk, just to
Including
clarify.
the town clerk, okay.
These numbers are
What
including the
about
town.
Dayton?
And these towns
Dayton-
comparable populations to us?
Yep. So Lakeville, I will tell you, I highlighted them all. So Rehoboth is 10,300. Dayton is 8,101 with 6,200 voters. I do a lot of comparisons with Dayton just because they're a very similar town to us. They have the regional school committee with Dayton Rehoboth. They have similar population counts. They have similar total voter counts. Dayton has, I know he has 3 full-time, including himself. I'm not sure if he's putting in for another person.
Where does he have the scale?
I don't know what number he falls into because I didn't do the sheet that way, didn't filter the sheet that way, but I can tell you where he is currently right now. For a pay, he's 75,000 even on last year's budget. He's 75,000 even. Lakeville last year was $73,741. Rehoboth is 84,496.
And for those individuals you
And
mentioned,
Dayton doesn't have, their clerk is not certified. I am.
Cheryl, just for comparison, apples to apples, the individuals you're mentioning at 75, 73, how many years of service do they have in the town clerk's office?
So I know Mark was elected. I believe he was a manager of a golf course the year after I was elected.
You were 18?
No, I was 21.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I was trying to be more legit.
No, that's okay. Lil in Lakeville has, I think, in service for the town, I think it's close to 25 years. I believe she was assistant town clerk for 11, and then I believe in 2018 she became town clerk in Lakeville. Laura over in Rehoboth has been there as long as I can remember. I started in the town clerk's office January 1st of 2015, and I remember seeing her. I don't remember at what capacity, if she was town clerk or if she was assistant, but she's one of the, people that you go to when you're not sure of something. Try to build your network of folks because every situation is different.
Absolutely. Networking should be a standard for all industries. So a lot of the people you spoke of have been there, some similar to yours, others been there quite longer. That could attribute to why their salary is somewhat higher. One of the biggest things with municipalities is I make more or less than this person next to me. But people don't realize they started somewhere, and over years they've gotten raise after raise after raise to get them to where they are today. Again, this is nothing on you.
No,
I think you're doing
absolutely.
an amazing job. I'm looking at black and white.
Right.
And if, like I said, if all department heads came to me today and said, "Hey, I need 8%," I'm gonna have the same questions for them. So please don't take it personally. This is
No,
just a black and white thing.
no, absolutely. I'm not taking it personally. It's just, everyone sees their own little world, right? And if you're requesting something, proof is in the pudding. You have to make your case, and you have to provide the data to make your case. I will tell you this, and I'm sure Deb has probably seen it on the MMA website, and yourselves if you're on there. There is a huge turnover right now. I know, Christine, you work in a different town. I'm not sure if you're experiencing that where you are at, or if you see that on the MMA website, but assistant town clerks and town clerks are leaving in droves because of all of the excessive mandates from the state. And those who are elected, you'll be getting new elected town clerks starting at those salaries. So you have the folks who are tried and true and who stay. But I can tell you just this week, Wareham, Fairhaven, Easton is looking for an assistant, but Wareham and Fairhaven, Wareham was on the news a couple weeks ago. Weekly, we are getting emails for town clerks and assistant town clerks who are leaving in droves. And again, if they're elected, they're going to be starting at those salaries.
Cheryl,
It's up to you folks, and it's I'm just here trying to answer the questions and providing the information to you. I'm not taking it personal, but again, we see our own things in our own little departments in our own little world. So, and you don't know what you don't know. So if I can bring light to anything or answer any questions or make anything clear, I'm happy to do so.
I do have just another question, and this is strictly just looking at the numbers.
Yep.
It's absolutely nothing personal because I do think you do a phenomenal job. There was a significant bump from 2021 to 2022, roughly 11%.
Correct.
Now, what was that based on? Was that based on
just trying to play catch up?
Other towns trying to.
It's been years of trying to play catch up. So my predecessor, and Chuck can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they used to coordinate because they're both full-time working elected officials. And it was always the standard. What are the unions getting? Is it a 2%? Is it 1.5%? Is it a 2.5%? Okay, we're going to go with that. And I think coming off of the crisis, the fiscal crisis back in 2008, everyone was trying to be fiscally responsible, but she was behind. She's always been behind, and it's a huge undertaking. And to try to, when you have a family, and we all feel the crunch, trying to play catch up. So last year when for the budget hearing, I didn't go for a huge increase. I was just standard because, and my response to that was, I want to prove myself. I don't think I asked for a larger bump last year when I started. I don't think it's fair that I ask for a larger bump. I want to prove to folks that I'm worthy of it. So that's why initially it was to try to. So you're trying to bring it up, but everybody else is not staying. They're also going up. So when is that catch up gonna?
Sometimes it doesn't happen. Even at the
Correct.
federal level, sometimes they increase the pay, and you're still catching that up, and that's always a
Right.
moving target. So it's like moving the goalposts, and it's not fair to the employee. And I always say this, right? The employer's job is to get you as low as possible, and the employee's job is to get you as high as possible. There's got to be that middle ground somewhere to make sure that we're all in the, we all feel comfortable leaving the room. So So my question to the finance committee, if not 8%, what number do you feel is an adequate number? Not to put you on the spot. We're asking questions. I think 8, in my opinion, is high, but that's just, again, black and white. We appreciate what you're doing. We value you. We don't want you going anywhere.
Well, I think that this is not an unreasonable request.
Yeah.
And I think I'd like to make a motion that we accept the request as it is and that we give her that increase.
We're not voting on anything on the omnibus tonight.
Oh, this is
That'll be next week. We're just getting information tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think from Board of Selectmen side, no, we're voting, but I don't know where Jared stands. I think Carlos, I think I see where you're going. But yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable. I know personally with this number where it's at.
I understand when you look at it from a
I didn't
percentage.
understand a word you said.
I just saying the same thing that George said. I'm comfortable with this number as well.
You're comfortable with this number?
Yep.
So to look at it from a percentage is scary, but I don't just look at that, right? I have to look at the big picture, and I keep going back to that. If someone is underpaid compared to their peers, then we need to get them in line, or else we stand to lose that person, and then we're gonna have to pay that, if not more, to replace them. So I'm not saying that, because, to look at it the way you're saying, okay, well, we're gonna pay every department head 8%. Well, if a department head is in line with towns of like size, then we shouldn't pay them 8% because it doesn't make sense. But we don't have to, I shouldn't have to worry, you always have to worry. You have to worry about them going somewhere else, but there's a greater chance of losing someone if they're on the lower end or bottom of a pay scale.
No, absolutely.
And it's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to 8%. I will state I believe that's high. Does it get you in line with the neighboring or like-minded individuals that are in your position? Sure. When it comes to budgets, being a personnel chair, I look at them quite often with the administrator, but I also want the opinion of the finance committee to give me an honest assessment of is 8% high? Do we look at 5%? I don't know, 6%, 7.5%. So that's what I'm looking
Just
at.
to clarify.
Can I interject one thing? I shouldn't, but I will.
I'm scared.
Carol's
I'm
elected
scared.
official. Her salary is set at town meeting. Ultimately, it's up to the townspeople at
Absolutely.
the town meeting. So if Cheryl asks for 25%,
Yep.
and the townspeople say yes, hooray for Cheryl.
Absolutely.
So we kind of.
So basically, we're voting today whether to recommend this.
No, it's just
No
discussion.
voting.
Voting on anything.
Yeah, it's just discussion.
I think it's just
This is just
informational
a discussion.
purposes.
Yeah, and my intent is not to. Yes, I understand as elected officials, it's set at town meeting. I'm referring to the finance committee to provide guidance on that. I'm not saying she's not worth the 8% because she does an amazing job. I'll be the first one to say that. I just need to know dollars for dollars, cents for cents, your opinion on the matter.
I'll be happy to give my opinion. I think that I'm okay with the 8%. It can't be every single year over year, obviously. I think you know that. But when you did your homework, you compared to the other towns. I realized that some of the folks in those positions do have higher seniority, but from what you were saying, they also have more help, and they're paid higher. So I think it's for what you do. I think it's justified for this
Thank you.
year. That's my opinion.
All right.
Well, one of the things you really got to look at is you don't want to set a precedence here. That's, I think, the point that you were making about, and that's what we're looking at as far as, that's what I look at as far as numbers. Down the road here, it's because this happened, because that happened. We deserve this. And if there's justification there, that's fine. But if there isn't, then.
And that's why I'm saying the justification is there with the like towns, not the 8%, the 8% aside. The justification to the next person who comes in and says, I want 8%. Well, why? Well, because the town clerk got it. Well, the town clerk came to us with this that showed us that it justified the 8% versus someone who comes in and they don't have the information, or they're already somewhere where they should be that falls in line. So I guess that's why I'm saying, you know, why I think that it's okay not to just keep getting stuck on that number of 8%.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I agree with that. And also the fact you don't want to lose key employees.
I'm just gonna
What are
say.
you trying, my only question is, what are you trying to catch up to?
I'm just trying to catch up to be relative to surrounding towns. If we're all doing the same job,
Yeah.
we should be, if they're getting paid.
No question about it, to be compensated correctly for your
Correct.
position. That's not even a point of contention. My question is, what are you get this?
I'm going to be honest with you, Diane. I'm going to be honest with you, Bob. I think for comparisons, I think Dayton, the town of Dayton is a very comparable town. I think I have more to offer, but if I could at least get somewhere in the ballpark of where that position is at, I would be fine. And again, like I said to Katie's point, I didn't ask for a big increase last year because, again, like I told Deb, I wanted to provide proof that I could handle the job and I could do it and the changes that I've made. And it's not, and I'm not taking it as a personal thing. I think as an employee, I should be compensated fairly. I think I bring a lot to the table. I also think not participating in the health insurance, which I believe is almost, if not at a $20,000 added benefit, that's also something that should be looked at and considered. I'm not drawing on the town's health insurance where that would be an added expense. I have never in the 10 years that I've worked here. And I'm, where other employees are getting a stipend for not participating in that, that's also something I'm not eligible for. So I just get a strict pay. And to answer your question, I think doing the same job, having the same comparable factors as Dayton, I would like to. And even with this increase, let me just take a look at that again so I don't misquote. Even with this increase, I would still not be where he was at last fiscal year. That would be $3,100 short of that.
And I want to just add to that Cheryl is an elected official. She's paid that salary, whether she works 10 hours a week or 55, 65 hours a week, which is more the norm. So whereas your department heads get time and a half over 40, Cheryl does not. So this is it for her. This is the number. She doesn't get any, other numbers.
If she was a police officer, right? Where you can make way more money than the base salary based on.
I think most of our department heads, other than the contractual ones, the bylaw department heads get paid time and a half over 40. They don't generally work over 40, but Cheryl does work a lot of time over 40 and then just gets her straight pay.
All right. Any other questions of this one, or should we move on to elections? You good? Finance committee? Good?
We're
All right.
good.
So this would be 162.
Okay, can I throw up now? Later.
You're doing great, Cheryl.
No, it's hard. I feel like I'm going to Dad and asking Dad to buy me a new car, and that's not the case. And just it was never. I've always been self-sufficient. And this is difficult.
We just got to ask the questions, and you're doing great answering them. And that's what
I'm trying to just be honest and
No, you're
I
doing
lay all
great.
my cards out on the table. I have nothing to hide. I just conversation and communication is good.
Absolutely, and we appreciate that.
Okay, so is there a specific question?
No,
you
I
want
mean,
me to-
I could see based on your previous comments about the registrars, I can see all these costs, I'm assuming, are increased with the increased, state kind of regulations around elections and mandates. So I have no specific questions. These increases,
So I just would like to point out, I was
postage is big, but
postage and paper, that's all gone up. Postage, I've already indicated with the Board of Registrars. The big thing for us, now we're talking about fiscal year. So when I say we have the 44 out of the 52 weeks that we're going to be doing elections, mind you, that's broken up into 2 fiscal years. So next year, you're probably going to be hearing the same thing from me, sorry. So with the elections next calendar year, you have the March presidential primary, you have the April town election, You have the September state primary and the November presidential. As we all know, when it's presidential years, everyone who I could delete all of a sudden comes out in droves. It's like, where have you been for the past 4 years? So everyone comes out. Vote by mail is mandatory for state and federal elections. So I came to you, the Board of Selectmen in January to discuss opting out of the local town election vote by mail option.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to be the case. We'll have a meeting with our Board of Registers to see what they say. But again, we're trying to increase voter participation while staying within the parameters of the law. It would be very confusing to tell voters next year, and I'm sorry, I'm getting cold in here. I don't know why I'm shaking. You know, hey, you can vote by mail or vote in person for March, September, and November, but tough luck come April. So that's going to be a burden of it's going to be too confusing. That's going to be a burden for the town because we're going to have to send out the applications and the applying for the vote by mail will already be done. Because those are going to go out December, early January from the state. So those people would just tack on the annual town election. But the cost to mail out all of those ballots.
$6,000 increase.
That's being conservative.
Yeah.
That's being conservative because, you know, you saw the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation that we did and the breakdown. And the vote by mail is crazy because you have to pretty much touch a ballot. I have the step-by-step guide of how long it takes to process a ballot. It's almost like a dozen times before Election Day, between running all the reports, between auditing those reports and accounting for all of those ballots. You know, you'll see the Secretary of State, well, you know, you'll see him on TV commercials and how folks can track their ballots and know where their ballot is. That's all done through this office. It's not a magical thing that happens at the state level. That's all us inputting and tracking those ballots. So it's a lot of work, and 4 elections next year is going to be horrendous, but it's trying to get voters to vote, right? And trying to, I hate coming here. I hate asking for money, but again,
No, I agree.
It is what it is.
Getting more people to vote is what we want. We want all 7,000 people voting at all times. That's hard to do.
Paper prices have increased tremendously. It's unbelievable. Postage, we know, always goes up. I'm not so worried about the cost of individual postage. It's how much postage we're going to have to mail out based on those state and federal elections next year. But the price of paper is absolutely ridiculous.
Can you just talk about the election coordinator?
Yes, so I put that on as a separate line item. I alluded to and I spoke about earlier, and Deb has mentioned to it. Doing elections in the process with vote by mail, this all goes back to the Votes Act that was passed on July 21st, 2022. It takes a tremendous amount of time to prepare and maintain elections. Tim and I were here on weekends. We were hardly getting any of the town clerk everyday functions done, or delaying them, or trying to do them when it was quiet time. When town hall was closed, again, being salary. So what a lot of the towns are doing, because the elections fall under the town clerk, and which I think is a good idea. They've actually hired like a temporary seasonal employee, because that person has to be trained on the state system in order to verify the voters. They have to maintain all of those ballots, track all of those ballots. They've kind of hired like an elections, I would say, coordinator, for lack of a better term. But it's someone specifically that can come in on a temporary basis that can help see and oversee ballots and elections A to Z, the administrative functions of that. So I put in for that for, again, temporary hours, if and this would just be for the March and April elections.
And this is just one.
Just one temporary.
How many hours do you have?
I don't want to misquote you. Let me put up what I did. Trying to go off memory. Yeah, 18 hours. 22 weeks, yep.
Ask a question?
Sure.
We've had discussions in the past about the early voting at the town hall,
Yes.
which is extremely difficult given our space constraints. It's very disruptive to the voters trying to vote, and it's disruptive to the town hall and the employees and everybody else trying to walk through the voting area to go.
Right, and everything else
that's
that's going on, correct.
So we have talked in the past about using the community room, and that would require you to have an employee up here. Would this elections coordinator be able to be up here?
Yes, because that person would be certified to work under the state system, which is the state computers that we have, and would oversee in-person early voting. Right now, for in-person early voting for the primaries, it's 1 full week prior to the election. For the actual elections, it's a full 2 weeks. So you can't just, it'd have to happen at the office of the town clerk. And we spoke about this a couple of times a couple weeks ago at a meeting that we were at. Yes, the elections coordinator could oversee the in-person early voting to have the alternate location. And then the office, sorry. I feel like no one can hear me this way.
Happens to me all the time, Cheryl.
And then, I'm sorry, where was I? Oh, and then have at the office of the town clerk, like a secondary. So if someone is to show up at the office of the town clerk for in-person early voting, we can handle that and do like the trifolds that you've seen at that hallway table. So this would alleviate traffic, parking, congestion, room at town hall, possibly having it here as a possible alternate location, and have that elections coordinator administering that and overseeing in-person early voting.
Is that the intent, is to have
It's
that,
to do both.
the coordinator here
During that week, yes.
in those
Because
early
by
voting
that
weeks?
Yeah, because that is the week right up to those primaries or elections.
Okay.
All the administrative stuff is done in the weeks before. Vote by mail is already out.
Right, I just know that it's a real concern of mine, being in the town hall, trying to operate daily business, having that early voter there, and a concern for the
I think everybody-
employees, for the residents who are trying to vote
And just conduct business. It's
in the
kind
middle
of
of everybody else. It's not really private. It's a difficult situation. It's difficult for parking, for sure.
and then trying to coordinate with different departments and what they have going on too. I know we had an issue last year when, you had the fire alarms being either tested or kind of swapped out, and then they're above my voter. Like, we can't have that, So it's a huge
They
concern.
randomly just go off sometimes. It's just a test for all of us, so it's good. It's a good. It's the I think everybody needs a little stretching their legs. They just go off. But okay, I just wanted to know that because I
Yes,
think
that would be yeah. It would just we'd have to coordinate alternate location and have that person, because if not, I would have to lose if that person isn't. If that position is not fulfilled or financed, I'd lose Tim.
Yeah,
I'd lose Tim in the office during those in-person early voting times. There's a lot that goes into it. I don't.
because I know that that's a real concern for you and a real concern of mine in operating the town hall and what we do there. So I think it's beneficial if we can have an alternate location for this early voting.
Yep. So
that makes it possible. This is why you continue to run the clerk's office. I think that's great, and I think I know we've had
good conversations, and we're office is always open. We have to make sure that we're doing everything within the parameters of the law and make sure we're following the law, and also doing what's best for not only town hall but the voters as well, and just trying to work cooperatively with each other. Right now I can tell you that the Massachusetts Town Clerks Association is trying to. So the Votes Act obviously was signed into law to try to increase voter participation. We found now with vote by mail and such an increase on making vote by mail accessible to everybody, well, the actual in-person, people who show up in person prior to Election Day, that's decreased. So the association is asking the legislature to take a look at that again and say, well, can we reduce those days? Do we have to have 2 full weeks before a federal election? Do we have to have 1 full week? Can we cut that down to 3 days? And then there's also weekend hours that are mandatory as well, depending on the size of your community. So, we had to be open, for the primary in September, we had to be open a minimum of 6 hours on the weekends. At least 3 of those hours had to be on Saturday. So I said, well, if we have to do 6 hours on a weekend, let's just do all 6 hours on the Saturday rather than doing Saturday and Sunday. And the same thing for the 2 weekends prior to the November election. So those are all things, across the board, we're trying to work with the legislator and trying to do what's fiscally responsible, makes sense, and increases voter participation. So that right now I can tell you it's 1 week before the primary, 2 weeks before the federal, but that may decrease. Time will tell. I feel like I'm just going on and on. I'm sorry.
Cheryl, we thank you for staying up there and answering our questions. Again, I think we're all on the same page. We appreciate everything you do, and thank you for again answering your question with such great detail. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity tonight. And it's actually better having everybody here, or a majority of the people here. I know sometimes it's only 1 or 2, and it's good because everyone brings different insight and different questions and different perspectives and seeing things from a different lens. And I just hope I answered your questions. And if there's anything else I can do or anything else I can provide, I'm happy to do so.
No, you've done great. That was an amazing presentation.
Yeah. Anyone else with a question? Are we all set? We can release.
Are we sure, Bob? I'm waiting for a big one from you, Bob.
I don't want to be beaten into the ground.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay, thank you.
Cheryl. Thank you so much.
Chuck, you're up.
Come on down.
I kept the seat warm for you.
I won't be here as pleasant as Miss Cheryl was.
Just tell us there's no snow coming.
I lucked out this year, so. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Start the questions. Personnel obviously is all contractual. Repairs and maintenance of roadways, I'm asking for an additional $45,000. It's a lot of money, but in case anybody hasn't figured out, the world's kind of gone crazy with prices of everything escalating through the roof. This year was kind of special. In a way, it was great. With the drought we had last summer, we weren't able to mow grass, so we were rebuilding sidewalks and doing all kinds of drainage work, which all cost money. And then with this winter being exceptionally mild, same thing. We weren't plowing snow, and we were rebuilding catch basins and putting in drainage systems and doing all kinds of things, which expel money. So I turned in a transfer this morning because we're basically tapped. I think we're like $3,600 left for the remainder of the year. And I requested a $15,000 transfer from personnel to carry us through the rest of the year so we can actually get things accomplished. This next line, there's a $15,000 increase for repair and maintenance to vehicles. I hope that's self-explanatory. Again, prices of things. I like to say that it's because our fleet is old, but it's not the case. Our fleet is through the generosity of the town and different grants. It's crazy how much money it costs to fix new vehicles. Crazy.
So this year you actually already expelled $41,000.
We had one repair was almost $24,000 on a 2011 dump truck. Obviously not expected. It's not that you can plan for such things. Yeah. So we're asking for that. $250 increase for rental and leases. We have found that when we need a specialized piece of equipment, if I can't borrow it from a neighboring town, it doesn't make any sense to me to go out and buy a $5,000 whatever when I can go rent it for $250.
Right.
And so that's, to me, that's fiscal responsibility. So that's why I'm asking for. We've rented more in this last year than we have forever, whether it's a camera to scope a drainage line or whatever it may be. moving down, like I said, all the other numbers are basically the same.
Yep.
We went for a $500 increase for tires and tubes. Obviously, that's an old thing. We don't do tubes anymore, but
I was gonna say, what vehicle takes the tubes?
tires, just like everything else in the world, have gone up exponentially. I just put tires on a pickup truck and it was just about $1,300.
Those are cheap tires.
Those are, it is what it is. You know, luckily, we participate in the state bid and because we're a municipality, we get tires exponentially cheaper than the normal Joe on the street. $2,000 for oil. I think that should be self-explanatory with the world we live in. We buy our oil in bulk because it's cheaper, but it's still the oil we buy mostly for just the highway department vehicles. Police department will pay for their oil. Fire department pays for their oil. We cover COA, building department. But again, between the different grades of oil and drums of DEF for the diesels, it's just, I don't think that increase is absurd. The $1,000 increase for parts and accessories, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think it's over the top. And $2,000 for other supplies.
Can you back up a second, Chuck?
I can back up as far as you'd like.
Okay, highway signs and lines.
Highways, signs, and lines.
Yeah, 36,000, which is the same as last year.
Yep.
But the last 2 years is 5,000 spent and 2,000. What is that? And do you need the 36,000?
Oh, well.
Or is that one of those
No,
maybe?
the $36,000 has basically kept us afloat for the last 2 years because we've used all the money in road repairs. And we've taken the money that we'd normally spend to stripe the roads and we've used it in other places.
Okay.
It would cost us, I've been trying for the last 2 years to get a vendor to come in and stripe our roads. It's just like everything else in the world. You're on a waiting list. It usually costs us anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000 to stripe the roads. So that leaves us roughly $5,000 or $6,000 to buy signs. Stop sign, $75. A post is $30. So, if kids decide to go on a rampage and say, hey, we're going to steal all kinds of signs, well, there's no insurance for that. So a regular street sign is $40. If they take the post, that's another $40. Again, that's all money that comes out of that line.
Okay.
Again, we do have a grant that we have now that I'm trying to get the company to come in and stripe the roads. I've been after them for the last 6 months. Well, I shouldn't say 6 months. But we've been pushing for them, and I actually sent them kind of a nasty email today saying, if you can't come into my town by June 1st, let me know, because I can take that money and spend it somewhere else. I was kind of hoping that I could get it under that grant so I could get the road striped. But luckily this last year's winter was non-existent, which actually preserves the lines in the road because we're not scraping them off with the snowplows. So if for whatever reason we can't get the road striped this year, it's been 2 years since the road's been striped. I really want to get them done. I think it's a safety issue. I think it needs to be done. But our problem right now is finding a vendor to come in and do it. The vendor that we've had for the last 2 years because they were the low bid. COVID decimated that company. They lost all their people. And this one company covers all of New England. So when Freetown calls, they don't, oh boy, Freetown's coming, because they're going to give us 30 grand. That's 30 grand to them is nothing. So it's hard for us to move up the echelon, up the ladder. So we're irrelevant in their eyes. But that's that line.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Other supplies, again, it's a $2,000 increase. That's nuts and bolts and everything we use on a day-to-day basis. That's it. I mean, for operating, I think we're asking 65,000 and change increase. Again, payroll, personnel is all contractual. My salary is, I asked for a raise, and again, it's up to the townspeople at town meeting whether they say yay or nay. So, I mean, unfortunately, Cheryl and myself, being elected officials, I mean, we go to town meeting and the townspeople can say, we're going to only pay them $5,000. And if it gets voted through, that's the case. So it's pretty much up to the 250 people that show up to a town meeting, if we're lucky, to decide on a 30-some-odd $1 million budget. So it is what it is. Yeah. So that's pretty much highway in a nutshell.
Chuck, question for you.
Yep.
Any word on the new vehicle, the new truck? Anything new updates?
The dump truck, I was told was going to be, now these trucks were ordered just about a year ago. Mm-hmm. The dump truck, I was told, is supposed to be delivered to the upfitter who actually builds the truck the end of June. So we'll be lucky if we see that truck. In a perfect world, we'll see that truck maybe next January. The pickup truck I ordered the same time. They won't even answer the phone calls. And the problem is, I mean, we know what we have for money, and I've gone to different, I mean, we go to large municipal supply houses. Because we're a municipality and they're going to put the snowplow on, they're going to put the lights and do all that. There's a shortage, obviously, in the world we live in. They told me, well, they haven't told me anything as a definitive delivery date. So I've gone to various dealerships and said, hey, I'm from Freetown. I've got, a bag of money. What can you do for me? And they laugh at me, because they're not going to sell to a municipality at a 17% discount when they can get full boat. Because, I mean, we're only looking for a plain Jane F-350, no bells, no whistles. They got them on the lot, but they're selling them for $65,000. And because we're a municipality, we're only going to pay $50,000 for it. So they would rather hold on to that truck and wait for Carlos to come along, because Carlos is going to pay $65,000 for
Want
that
that fifth wheel.
Well, but they won't sell to a municipality. Right. So the company that we have the contract with is they get emails usually once a month. They don't know anything. From what I was last told, Ford issued a VIN number for the truck, but no build date. So it could be here tomorrow, it could be here next January. Nobody knows. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, thanks for the update.
Well, it gets you crazy, because the 2011 that we're going to replace is in need of repairs. And my mechanic actually today, it's on the truck's on the lift. Hey, do I do this? I said, no, you don't, because I don't want to spend money on a truck that we're going to give away or sell at auction or whatever. You don't put $10,000 into a truck that's only worth $3,000. So that's.
You're correct on that.
Yeah. So
it's your own call.
Right.
Oh, no, you're right. And to touch on snow, it's not even on my thing here. I think we didn't increase that. I think we're still at 150,000. Like I said, this year was particularly good to us. But we still, it was a nothing year. We got approximately 12 inches of snow throughout the entire winter, and we still spent, I think it's 125,000-ish that we spent, on salt, overtime. We plowed once. So with the subcontractors and stuff, you know, that chewed up a lot of the money, so that's where we're at. Any questions? See?
Street lighting.
Highway's always easy. Mr. Alderson, nothing? Come on. You're stewing.
I'll tell you what, I just wanted, Debbie, how'd you come up with 6.6%?
How did I come up with 6.6%?
Yeah.
That's what Chuck had originally asked me.
6%, I think it is.
6%, yeah, I thought it was 6%.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 6%.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with that number?
I didn't come up with that number? That
was
was
me.
his request?
Oh, I thought you told the budget.
No, they come in with their budget and I sit with them and I go through it.
My
and
mistake.
I make recommendations. They can accept them or not accept them.
Okay, I got it.
How did I come up with that number? It's like throwing spaghetti against the wall. It seemed to stick, and it's a nice number. You know.
Actually, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I don't have the data that Cheryl has, but I can tell you, Lakeville's at 90 grand. Berkeley, which is a podunk one cow town, is at 87 grand. So I'm at 80 grand. So and again, it's up to the townspeople. If they say, hey, you're doing a good job, here's the money. Terrific. If they say, hey, you're a freaking bum, we're not going to give you anything. And then that's it.
They could say, well, we're going to give you a bonus.
It's up to the townspeople. And you know, that's being an elected official. It's a gamble every 3 years whether you're going to have a job. And if I was the police chief or the fire chief or whatever, and appointed, you know, my salary is negotiated with 4 people. And, you know, we can go back and forth, but my salary, I have to stand in front of those 250 people with my heart in my hand and say, hey, I think I'm doing a good job. I'd like 2%, I'd like 5%, I'd like 8% or 10%. And it's up to the people. If they're thinking you're doing a good job, here it is. Yeah. Or if they say, yeah. They may not give me the raise, and then next April they may say, you know, you're a bum, get the hell out. And I'm out. And there's no recourse. If I get unelected, I don't fall back to the ranks. I'm out. 25 years, gone, you know. So it's a gamble being an elected official.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want it any other way, but it is what it is.
Just the purpose of this, so the people at home can sit there and watch, and then when they get to the 250, hopefully it's 350, 400, both of you, at capacity, 351, whatever it is, they know the information. And
No, I like I said, I mean, highway is pretty
clear.
Pretty straightforward because, you know, with money, we do work. Unfortunately, everything we do costs money. And of course, the state of the world as we know it currently, and we all feel it at home, you know, and it's no different on the highway department end. If I buy a piece of pipe, last year was $125, now it's $270. And, you know, if I need it, I need it. And if we're not funded, then what do we do?
Right. Understood.
You know, everything. My street sweep is out running. It costs $175 per set of gutter brooms. In a normal week, it'll go through at least 3 sets of gutter brooms. There's an expense.
There's a sign on the back of it that says stay back 100 feet.
No. I'm sure if somebody will complain, I'm sure there will be one. It's, no, we're moving into grass mowing season and spring, and so at that point, we can do an awful lot for not a whole lot of money. You know, mowing grass is the cheapest thing you can do. It's gas, it's oil, it's a set of blades once a month. You know, and we'll be flat out busy doing that. And, you know, the drainage projects that we've been tackling will subside, so we'll save some money there. But as repairs come up, you know, if there's a sinkhole on Green Lane, I'm going to get a phone call.
I saw the patch, and you guys did a great job.
And we're going to respond, and we have to, you know, especially in the case of an emergency, you don't think about what it costs. You just have to do it properly, and then move on. And then you lick your wounds after, You know, that's how we are right now. Like I said, we're at maybe $3,600 left for the remainder of the year.
Oh, you guys been busy. I've seen your guys in trucks all over town doing.
You know, the
every
crew,
task.
I've got the best crew now that I've ever had, and we've been banging out crazy amount of work. I mean, what 25 years ago would take us a week now takes us 4 hours. You know, the equipment that the town has afforded us over the last few years through the townspeople, through Chapter 90 buying equipment, through grants, whatever it may be, we're able to we're just so much more efficient. And like I said, the quality of my workers are above and beyond what they ever have been. Not to knock any of my old people that have worked for me in the past. I wouldn't take anything away from them, but it's just different times and just different mindsets. And like I said, my quality of my work is a top notch. I'd put them against anybody's highway department in southeastern Massachusetts. You know, body for body, my guys are easily the best.
I'll take that bet with you.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
easily the best. I can't say enough about my guys. You know, I just, you know, listen, I'm asking for 6%, and I don't know what they negotiated, but you know, I would love to have all my guys get 6%. You know, just because a couple in particular, I'm afraid the retention. Cheryl touched on retention. You know, it's hard to keep somebody glued to your team if you're paying them $24 an hour when they can go work in the private sector for $35 an hour. So it's tough. You know, you got to dangle some kind of carrot in front of them. And luckily, again, the town's been very generous because we've got good equipment. And, you know, I think we've got a good operation. But I fear losing a couple of key members every week. I worry because they face the same problems that we all face. Crap, the mortgages due. Whatever it may be. You know, we all filled our oil tanks this winter. I mean, I can speak from my own house. I was spending $900 a month to heat my house. That doesn't come easy. And it's not easy for me, and I'm the top dog. How's the bottom guy doing it? You know, I got a kid that lives in Fall River, is paying $1,900 a month for rent, and he gets $21 an hour. Listen, that's a lot of bologna sandwiches, you know. Bologna sandwiches and ramen noodles is not a way to live. And these are good people, so anyway. Done with me, Mr. Alderson?
Not up to me, Chuck.
No, it is. It's always up to you. It has been for the last 25 years that I've been playing this game.
Oh,
Game of life.
it's a game, though. I'm certainly satisfied with your answers.
Good. Well, if there's any questions, you know where I am.
So far.
I think we're good. Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Chuck.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Chuck.
It's a hard act to follow, but I think you're up.
The good news is I'm not asking for as much as he is. Good luck, Chuck.
All right, 40.
Evening, folks.
Hello.
How are you?
Looks good.
This seat truly is hot.
Start off with trash.
From Chuck. Yeah, trash, as you folks know, you've entered into the contracts. Trash is what it is, right? We're governed by the amount of contract. We have tried when budgeting to look at actual volume of product that is being delivered to facilities, whether it's the solid waste stream or the recycling stream, and tried to tweak them as much as we could in reducing the amount of tonnage that we're expecting, but understanding that there's an increase in the rate per ton. So, you know, it's a catch-22. Our recycling costs more to get rid of per ton than it does for the solid waste, and we encourage people to recycle more, right? Yep. We get penalized if people don't recycle. They'll reject the load, and we could be on the hook for that. So it's a necessary evil. Like I said, most of you folks here are well aware of the contracts that we've entered into, so we're not asking for any more for trash than is required by the contract. And again, we did look at the volume and saw that we could maybe adjust it down slightly given what the history has been relative to the amount being disposed at these facilities. So that's trash.
When is the contract up?
Or just up next year, I believe.
I thought it was a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
Right?
Did we just sign that last year?
So that was
2024.
Yeah, June 30th, 2024, according to this paper.
That's next year, right? So it's up next year for the trash hauling, right? And Borges has been a good partner too, quite honestly, right? They've been helpful with getting us a little bit better rate on our recycling. It's up to $110 a ton now. I think we have enjoyed a good relationship with Crapo Hill, which is why, and I don't know how many people know this, but Crapo Hill limits it to only a few towns or enterprises that they'll receive from, and we do. Currently, I think CMAS for new contracts, it's $125 a ton. We are going up slightly. We're going up to, I believe, $81 a ton. This
It's 76.
sorry,
and then
76 and then 81. Yep. Yep. So we're fortunate that we have the ability to use Crapo Hill. They have,
Right.
excuse me, I'm sorry?
While it lasts.
Well, see, that's just it too, right? Crapo Hill has a certain life expectancy like all landfills,
Yep.
which is why they're not taking in other contracts. So we've known about this issue for the last 30 years, or at least as long as I've been around, right? We enjoyed the success of a long-term contract prior to. I think we were at $30 a ton, and now here we are, but we're still paying much less than what is going to other facilities. So I would say that to a certain degree, count our blessings. I mean, to Chuck's point, everything's going up. Fuel costs, we suffered the ills of the fuel prices that went up for diesel when it was close to $7 a gallon. There's an escalator clause within the contract that allows for our contractor to basically charge a surcharge, if you will, or an extra charge. But again, you folks negotiate that, you know that, so.
Any other question on trash?
We all set on trash?
Okay. Health inspection services. 510.
I should have a quick question on trash. I think I might have asked you before. Maybe not in this contract, but in a future contract, is it a possibility to get these trash bags via Amazon as well, instead of driving to Shaw's or
via Amazon?
Yeah,
that they would supply them?
They would. You can pre-order it online through Amazon to make it more convenient for the people, so that they don't have to run out last second because they forgot Amazon their bags.
Well, I will tell you this: so the individual vendors are responsible for making sure they get their orders and then paying their bills. We don't do any of that stuff. So I would say that they also take a risk that they buy a volume of bags that don't get sold. We've had that in the past. We've had vendors, big vendors, that have sold bags and not paid their bills, and we have to check. The good news is Waste Zero, right? There's not very many companies that actually produce the bags, will do the written bags, very handful. They will then go after these. So I will tell you this, Carlson. I will have Umberto, or we'll reach out to Waste Zero, see if any other municipality is doing that. The benefit to on the bag specifically, years ago, vendors were not allowed to upcharge, right? This is the cost, and you have to sell them for that. And okay, but then they started getting into the dilemma of, well, somebody comes in and uses their debit card. Well, it costs them.
Correct. That's why they bring it up.
Right.
Yeah.
So now they're able to charge an amount above and beyond what the cost is. So it can't hurt to ask. I don't know, because they would have to manage that. Amazon would have to buy the bags, right? Under the current scenario and how we operate. So
See, I don't think it would be, sorry, Kevin, I didn't mean to
No.
cut you off. I think that's actually a great idea, but I think rather than using the Amazon route, to find out if there's a way to directly buy them from the vendor.
So a third party, much like,
No, I'm saying like them buy them directly from Waste Zero.
Oh,
Like
from
the
Waste Zero.
online I don't know. I know that. it
we
seems like-
will ask,
Yeah, I don't-
right? We will ask a general question.
I think
One
that
specific
we know the
to
answer.
Amazon. Two, are there any other delivery methods that Waste Zero has found that other communities or other institutions have that work a little bit better?
Yeah.
And see what they say.
Yeah, because
appreciate
they're
that.
one-off bags, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's things they have our town,
Well, right. And again,
they're not gonna be like one just bag that's generic to go to every.
North Shores, you order 1,000 bags or whatever it is, or they deliver 1,000 bags to you. You're supposed to pay the bill. You're collecting the money. The idea is to be either one, a convenience, or two, to attract them in the store. They're going to buy something else. But to Carlos's point, most oftentimes it is Kevin getting up on Monday morning, realizing he doesn't have any more green garbage bags, driving down to Circle K and grabbing them. So I appreciate that, because if I could call up, now, I think
Pre-order,
an
it
option
comes every week.
would be, right, so if you have delivery service from Shores,
Yeah.
Instacart,
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, the pod,
Peapod, if that would be stuff. But then you could probably add that list to your item.
Sure.
I mean, or add that item to your list. But we'll ask the question.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's all we can do is ask. I think it's
You got
just convenience for the residents of our town.
Right.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
All right, 5:10.
10.
So just the only changes I see, just some increases for salary.
Yep. So you're going to have your contractual increase for Humberta.
Yep.
No increase to Dale Barrows. 2% increase, I believe, for the public health nurse. And then my increase of approximately $5,000.
What percent is that?
7.5.
7.5. But it's not $80,000 that Chuck's asking for.
It's still 7.5. So Kevin,
Yes.
for the folks here and the folks at home, 7.5% increase from last year to this year is again quite high. Can you?
I don't think so.
Well, as your job is to get you as high as possible. Our job is to figure out.
No. I'll correct that. I've got a long history here in town. I'm not trying to get what's as high as possible. I'm trying to get. Okay.
If you let me finish, Kevin, your job as an employee is always to get your salary as high as possible. Our job as employers in the town is to find that medium ground. So 7.5% is high. Over a 1 year period, you got hired, I believe, was it January 2022? So I'm just asking, 7.5% increase in 1 year. Just asking.
And I'm gonna go back to my statement, Carlos, not to be argumentative, but my job as an employee is not to try to get as much as I can, right? I'm not coming in here to try to put the wool over anybody's eyes, bamboozle anybody, shuck and jive so I can line my pockets. I think if when I was getting hired, I actually made the statement that, listen, I'm willing to do this. I know for a fact that multiple people had been offered the job before me, but simply didn't take it because the salary was too low. I offered when I was getting hired. I said, listen, if you can find a more qualified individual to do this, that you feel more comfortable, then I would suggest you do it, because that's what's best for the town. We didn't have that luxury, right? So I tried to step up and tried to fill a role that I thought needed to be filled, and I thought I had the ability to do it. So the town recognized my lack of experience, so to speak, and that's why my initial salary when I started out was, I think, much lower than previous salaries, or certainly what individuals coming into the job were looking for. I was told when I get hired that, hey, you get some training, you get some certifications, you get a year under your belt, you get more comfortable. These are the salary ranges that we're going to be looking to get you at. So in fairness to the process, some of these numbers and salary ranges were discussed during the hiring process, which all helps you make a decision for the future. And again, I'm not trying to be argumentative, Carlos, but I think it's important to realize that, yeah, I might be asking for a little bit more percentage-wise, But simply stated, I'm asking for $12,000 less to be responsible for the public health here in Freetown than what the highway surveyor is asking to get paid. And I think when you put it in those terms, I don't think it's out of the ordinary or extraordinary that I'd be looking for that. We are busy beyond busy. I was, unfortunately, last time I was before you folks, I was very new to the job full-time, and I could only speak to my experience to that point. I will tell you right now, you're paying me for 36 hours a week, you're getting 40 hours plus. I'm in the office between 7 and 7:15 every morning. Why? That's quiet time. I don't have anybody come into my window. I don't have any phone calls ringing. Unfortunately, too many people now know that I'm in there early, so I'm getting phone calls. But it gives me an opportunity to answer emails, right? You're already getting more out of me than what I'm getting paid, right? I've made my career on that here in town. I think most people understand that. But at the same time, I have to look out. And I look around in other communities, I see levels of funding, I see levels of staffing, I see levels of pay. And we certainly could use the staff we have right now. There's easily 60 hours of work that can be done, and that's doing what we have to do. If you want us to start getting proactive, and again, I have to keep, please keep in mind, I'm working for a newly elected board. They're having their first meeting tomorrow. They will be presented with the budget and some other things that we're going through. So I would anticipate in the future that I will have more support from my actual board. They would probably be here maybe in my stead or alongside me when it comes to this budget request. So I sat down with the town administrator. I sat down with the chairman, or you were vice chair at the time? I'm sorry, Margaret.
I'm chairman.
You're chairman. Mm-hmm. Chairman at the time, and we went over the budget, and they asked similar questions, and I don't think that there was an unreasonableness to what I was asking for. I have a folder, all the trainings that I've done, the multiple certifications, the hours and hours. I just finished soil evaluators class. At the end of this month, I'm taking certified pool operators class. I'm ServSafe certified, mass housing, just bathing beaches, pools. I got Title V inspectors class at the end of this fall I just enrolled in. There's a lot to what the Board of Health does, and I tried to get into a little bit when I was here last time, but I can tell you what. I get one, I'll go in the morning and I'll have whatever it is I got a perk test here, I got a bottom hole inspection here, I'm gonna try and get this, a tobacco, I gotta do. And then I get a call about a housing complaint, or more seriously, recently a hoarding complaint, right? I'm 12 hours into that one deal. Over multiple days now, or in multiple weeks. That's 12 hours that I don't get to spend inspecting things and all. I'm eternally grateful and thankful that we have, and the town should be, that we have part-time help with Dale Barrows, and he's still willing to do it. Because whether it's been because I'm ill, as maybe people might know, I was out for a significant amount of time, and even when I came back, it was extremely part-time. My training, I've spent, 10 days away from town over the last 2 months doing training. It's overnights, 4 nights, overnight this, and required stuff. But I can tell you my level of confidence in my ability, what I know, how I implement our local laws and bylaws, and how I implement the state rules and regulations. I don't think, and I'll ask out loud, I don't think that the Selectmen, the Personnel Board, has gotten any complaints about level of service, my knowledge, attitude. We're not getting there on time. And to your point about bags, if anybody is in a bag bind, so to speak, call the office, okay? I have delivered on more than one occasion. Whether you're homeward bound, whether you're just in a bad way, whether something's happened. I will, and my office will go the extra mile and take that extra step. And I think that's because of who you have in there, the staff that we have, our leadership from Debbie, and just our desire to serve the people here in Freetown. So I know it sounds, like a little sugary, so to speak, but that's the reality, right? When you look at outside my office, I have a Board of Health A to Z, big old poster. Must have 100, 150 items on it that we're ultimately responsible for. Opioids, public health, sewer, wells, pools, just camps, summer camps, temporary food stuff. It goes on and on and on. So, this is the first time in my career having to come into a budget meeting where I actually, I said to myself, and this is a moment of honesty, that this is the year that I've convinced myself that, you know what, be confident in who you are, be confident in what you've done. Know that what you're doing for the town is essential. More importantly, know that there weren't many people that were interested in my job at the level of pay to begin with. I think I've embraced the role. I think that I have proven myself, and I don't think that I'm asking for anything exorbitant compared to what other towns are getting. Most towns are going to the model of, if they're not doing it now, they're looking to the model of having a public health director to deal with all the ancillary things outside of inspectional services. And then just hiring, I say just, but hiring an agent or two to do inspectional services, where they just go out and do inspection. The guy or gal that goes out and does the restaurant inspection shouldn't be worried about how they're gonna spend the opioid grant money. You have directors that will deal at that level of stuff. Currently, we don't have that, and I'm not asking for that. What I'm saying is that there's a lot on our plate. And Margaret, you're going to learn more about that soon.
I know, tomorrow at 4.
Right.
Kevin, you mentioned certificates. So you have a packet there.
I do.
I know when you got hired, X amount of certificates were needed for the position, and I think you rattled off like most of them, right?
So I think Carlos, the state law does not. There are no minimum standards for. It's not like a building inspector, right? So there's no minimum standards for certification for a Board of Health inspector. That is left solely to the local Board of Health. What standards do they want, right? So what was talked about, more importantly, when I got hired was, what's your knowledge on septic systems, right? So like I said, I just finished my soil evaluators class. I will be attending the Title V inspectors class. We have somebody in the, my wife, Lori, who again works part-time, she's a public health nurse, public health director in Marion. She is certified in that. We're both going to become certified pool operators at the end of this month. We have 3 pools in town that are in institutional settings that require oversight, inspections. I need to be on scene. You'd like to be on scene in the pool once a month, going over things. So it's, and oftentimes it's not just a singular inspection, right? It's an inspection, and then there's follow-ups, and there's, so if you want to do the job right, and you want to be responsible to your responsibilities, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes desire, and I think I have shown all of them. And I think, again, it's an odd situation for me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I don't want to keep this going forever, but I will say that, as being the person who was involved in the active hiring process, that, there was never anything that said you need to have A, B, and C. We went with Kevin knowing that he had experience, but not the exact certificates, but would work on getting them. So, yeah. I think I say certificates, it's different, forms, whatever, but, he's not actively worked on that, so then,
Yeah, no, I was just, he said it, I was interested in knowing, sorry.
So I can provide that.
For some reason, that's one of the
So I've been attending, I say attending, right? There's this on your time learning that Boston University puts out. It's through the School of Public Health. And it's a recommended curriculum for Board of Health agents, directors, people going to be working, sanitarians, things like that. The benefit of that and the benefit to the town, again, is that it's free. So typically I'll try to go in the morning, knock out some, if I can, and over a few days, get one done. Sometimes it's the evening, sometimes it's the weekend. It is what it is. So if need be, I've provided them, they're in my personnel jacket, I provided them to town administration as I get them. I could provide them if need be. But I've learned a lot. And I would say this, we have an expression in our office after interactions with people. And oftentimes they get there angry or confused, that it's helping people. It's what we do, you know, trying to keep the people happy. You know, somebody comes in, what about this Title V, you know? I can get somebody at my window, it'd take me a half hour. I mean, trash complaint. I get a call the other day. Borges Brothers came by, I don't understand why, but they dumped all the trash in my front yard. That was the complaint. So now I gotta follow up, go out there. Is the trash in the front yard? Yeah, there's a few pieces, little, right? Okay. Call it the hauler. Get pictures sent from the hauler. The wind blew it over. It was like that. We actually picked it up. Call the woman back. I'm 45 minutes to an hour in, and I don't blame the resident for calling. It's what they believed happened. She was very appreciative of Borges Brothers, so a shout out to them for taking the time to pick up what clearly wasn't their job. But I owe the taxpayer, I owe the resident, and it's my responsibility to look into those things. So there's a lot I wish the state, and they have been. They've been trying to assist using regional models, so to speak. I'm a member of a regional coalition. It's through an excellency grant program. We get approximately $300,000 a year for 6 member towns. Of that $300,000, we're to hire staff, their own inspectors, which they'd be hiring at a higher rate than what I'm getting paid. And they can't find staff. They can't get people to work. The benefit of being in that, though, does it add a little bit more work to me? Yeah, I've got more meetings to go to. I've got some follow-up stuff. We have to do stuff for the state to meet certain benchmarks and standards. But it's opened up. I have literally benefited, this town has literally benefited in thousands of dollars in equipment, inspectional software, my trainings. I mean, just the soil evaluator costs alone, I'm $1,500, $800, well, no, I'm $2,500. $800 for the course, $800 for the first four nights of staying there. 4 field days, 2 of which I ended up staying over. Course material, reimbursement for gas. All of that is being paid for by this coalition. So just the money saved by me picking up a few extra hours or having to add to my plate so that I can be involved with this coalition has brought in thousands of dollars for the town, whether it be in training or actually software and hardware that will live beyond Kevin, you know, that can be utilized by others. So, and at the end of the day, my overall budget's only going up 10 grand.
I do have a question.
Please.
The assistant position, that's for 15 hours a week.
It's averaging about 14.
At the time of last year's budget, I had thought that was, the plan was to phase that position out.
Yeah, and again, I think at the time, when I expressed earlier that
was
I might have
based
been
on
a
you
little bit of a it was
getting your
based on information that was
certifications.
provided to me. I'll give you an example. Just to get into my soil evaluator class and then to get into the Title V, you have to be a Board of Health agent for a minimum of 1 year. Right? So that took me to this past January. I was fortunate to get into the March class. And it was a last minute thing because I had somebody make a phone call and I was able to get in. There was a waiting. What I've discovered since is just the amount of and the volume of work requires that I at least have a number on the budget to bring in. I'm a 20-year employee, over 20 years, which means I have 5 weeks vacation. Do we want to tell the taxpayers of Freetown that for 5 weeks you're not going to get service out of the Board of Health? I don't think that's, I mean, I'm not comfortable with that. I took sick, not getting any younger, not getting any healthier, or trying. So you need that coverage. You don't need it when that backhoe operator has got the hole dug in your backyard waiting for a septic system to get in because you have a closing this Friday and a transfer of $500,000 to $1 million on a real estate transfer. You know, Kevin's not here. Kevin's busy doing a restaurant inspection. So I think it's a level of service that our taxpayers deserve. And again, when you look even within our own town, as far as department heads, I don't think that my request for overall salary is.
Oh, I think coverage is certainly necessary, but you're not gone 15 hours a week.
No, I'm not on the, no. To answer your question, no. While I'm doing work, he is out doing work. We are getting stuff done. It's not like, oh, Kevin's here, he's doing the restaurant inspections, Dale would be sitting here, and vice versa, right? Dale is handling a very difficult, I don't want to point, housing case. We're talking police involvement, ASPCA, these are time consuming. They require dealing with lawyers. They may require being in court, writing corrective orders, writing fine. They take time. And so what I have learned, and in fairness to you and your question, what I have learned in the last year is there's an awful lot that we're responsible for as a town, and more specifically as a Board of Health. And the pandemic exposed a lot of things, increased a lot of our responsibilities and oversight. And my training isn't done. I after this and get my Title V inspector, then it's off to get certified in the individual different types of systems that get installed. Again, none of these are requirements, but if you want me to do my job and do it right and be effective, you need to do it.
No, absolutely, Kevin. The purpose of asking the questions is that not just for the people in this room, it's the people watching.
Sure. Yeah.
At the end of the day, we have to justify every single cent that comes from our budgets, right? And so, hopefully, you didn't take me as being combative. I don't take you as being combative.
No.
I didn't. That's not our interaction.
It's not you.
People at home want to know exactly what we're squeezing from that rock, right? And that's me asking the question. Is just that. Tell me what.
I get why you did it.
Yeah,
I get why you did it.
I understand why.
I just, like I said, I had to make a conscientious decision.
Sure.
Right? Usually I come in here and it's hat in hand and okay. And I've had a very good relationship with FinComs over the years, right? Sure, we may have disagreements. It is what it is. It's the politics. It's the system we're in. But I said to myself, as recently as just this morning, I said, you know what, Kevin? I went back. I got copies of this. I'm reviewing. I'm like, wait, hold on now. You know, you've done a good job. Nobody's complaining. I get thank you letters. I appreciative notes. People call. We've never been treated like this before. Really, you'll do that? Really? Oh, you've been so kind. You know what you're talking about. You're getting us in compliance, but you're doing it the right way. So, with all respect to the process, I do believe, given what I've just spoken about and given the situation that I was hired under, while 7.5 may be above what other department heads are asking for, I think at the end of the day, I'm looking just to start to become more in line with what would be an industry standard and again, what would be commensurate with what some other department heads within our own community are getting paid.
Thank you. I just have one additional question.
Please.
Thank you. The clerical position, is there anything changing with that role? It is a 9% increase over a prior year.
Wait, what?
I think it's 30,958, maybe.
Yeah, it's a $2,000 increase.
I was like, where'd that come from?
I was gonna say, I mean to ask for more than if you get 9. No,
right.
I was going to say, her salary is contractual. She's due to get a step increase.
Okay, but it is a 9% change.
Overall.
Overall, yeah.
It may be.
Yeah. Okay, so that's just
But I don't
contractual.
have control
Okay,
over it.
I just wanted to know.
Believe me, and I'm going to take the time now. To your point, people are listening. I have gotten more compliments. As you know, I've worked in town for a while, and I've had some really good clerks work for me, so this is not an indication that they weren't. But currently, Umberta, I get more compliments from professionals and from residents about her professionalism, her ability to get a job done in a timely manner. She knows her stuff. We lose her. She's worked in a law office. She's worked in a large construction firm. She knows her ways around a lot of things. She's proficient and efficient. My only desire is to have her more hours a week. Unfortunately, her situation does not allow for it. But if I could pay her $10 more an hour, I would. To Chuck's point, we're fortunate, I think, that she may be at a point in her working career that she may not be interested in going other places. But it's almost embarrassing every week when I sign her payroll and I see what she is ultimately responsible and what she does. She is the glue that keeps that place together, because I will tell you what. So kudos to Umberta. I wish I could give you more.
My only question for you, Kevin, is health advertising from 200 to so.
In the standalone Board of Health, we may be promulgating rules and regulations and or bylaws. So the thought was during the budget process that we set aside an amount so that we would have for advertisement. Clearly, and again, caveated this whole thing, I'm here saying, and I'll say, well, sure, if you want to cut that a little bit, then I think we can work with that, right? If you look at other line items, another prime example, my longevity is less than what I was getting as a union member, significantly. Right?
I didn't even get that.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I'm sorry. Thank you for all your support. You look at my clothing allowance. I haven't spent it for the last 2 years. Right? There's $1,000 that I'm not spending on in my budget.
Buy those boots.
Yeah, I know. I'm cost conscious, cost conscientious. I know. So.
And what does advertising actually mean?
So if we're going to hold a public hearing, much like you guys, we would have to advertise. In certain cases, we might need to notify abutters. So an advertisement within the newspaper.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what it means.
And just above that, the health professional and tech, 55,000. Is that the?
That's the monies that were put into my my budget for the technical oversight and engineering oversight of the our industrial zone, more specifically Excel.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. And again, we've recently entered into a contract. So if anybody knows, we've entered into a contract with an environmental firm that I have a huge amount of confidence in, that they will at least be putting us in the right direction. I know you folks know about it, but so the money's not just sitting there. It's a municipal world. If you haven't learned it already, things take time. Things take time, and just when you think you have it licked,
yeah, they
change the rules. Any other questions? Good.
Thank you.
No?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for answering our questions.
You're welcome.
All right. So next up, looks like we have I guess for Board of Selectmen at least, we have both as the recommendations for the warrant articles for the annual and special.
Finance committee is also, it seemed easier just to do it all together,
perfect.
so.
All right, we already reviewed the articles earlier, so I'm not sure if you guys have reviewed them yet or how you want to do it.
I sent them out. Did everybody get a chance to review? And then you got another copy at your seats there. So maybe just go through each one, start with the special.
Yep.
And if anybody has any questions or.
Okay, yeah. So, and I'll probably lean on Debbie on some of these stuff, just to let you know. This is much more. But Article 1 of the special is transferring funds into conservation land fund.
Okay, I know somebody on my committee had a question about that. So currently, the Conservation Commission has roughly $105,000 in their land fund. It came last year, we had it on the town meeting, to transfer money from the rollback taxes. So land that's under Chapter 61A, they get a discount on their taxes until it comes out. If they want to sell their land or no longer want to have it under that protection, they have to pay back 10 years, I believe, of taxes, 7 or 10 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And that's called rollback taxes. And so we put that, the Conservation Commission requests that money to go into their land fund so that they have the funds if something comes up, because the town or the Conservation Commission has first right of refusal on any property that's being taken out of the protection. So currently there is a piece of property that we're looking at, Conservation Commission is looking at buying for $48,500. So that can come out of the land fund. So that's what this, the $73,109.59 is the amount of rollback taxes that are on the books currently. So that's what that is.
Great. And yeah, any questions on that? Are we good to move forward?
Is that good? Okay.
That was great. All right, so Article 2.
Well, so have you guys already voted on it?
No, we actually didn't. We just opened it. Well, we reviewed them, is what I was saying. So, but we can. Do you want to vote on all of them at one at a time? Sorry.
We typically do it one at a time, but you do it like all together?
Yeah, or like I think last time we'd hold ones that we weren't all in consensus on.
Okay. Do you guys want to do the same thing? Sure. Does that sound reasonable? Okay.
All right.
Go.
Sometimes it can get more confusing doing it the way I do it, though, just to let you know. But all right. So Article 2 is authorize the Board of Assessors to enter into the pilot agreements, and this is what the solar companies.
Yeah, so, we've been in litigation with some of the companies that operate the solar farms for 5 or 6 years now. And we're finally getting to a point where we're gonna settle those. And as part of that settlement is to enter into these pilot agreements with these solar companies. The pilot agreement is technically a payment in lieu of taxes. I know Mike McHugh and the assessors have spoken about the issue with the pilot is that we don't necessarily have the same remedy if they don't pay. If you don't pay your real estate taxes, we can take your property away. But with a pilot, we don't have the same teeth. So the agreement that town council's been working on should hopefully have some language in there that gives us a little more of a remedy if they don't pay. But it evens out the taxes, right? You put in a solar farm, the value is very high in the beginning, and its depreciation, it drops really off when they get like the rec credits in the beginning, and when those drop off, the value of the solar farm drops off incredibly. So entering into a pilot gives us more of an even income. We know what the income will be, and we know it's going to be for a 20-year period, and the town can budget accordingly, and so can the solar farm. So this actually, hopefully it passes, it will be a good thing. And also, as you see, as we're settling some of the litigation, we're getting more litigation as more farms go in. By doing this and entering into these pilot agreements, I think all of the solar farms coming into town will have an idea of what we're expecting for taxes and what we've done in the past, so they'll know, hey, this is what we're going to be looking for. And it sets a precedent for the town, and it's a good figure. They all involved have worked really hard to get to this point, so I hope I've answered the questions on that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Any questions that I can answer at this? I mean, it was submitted by the assessors, but any questions I can answer?
Where's the town of Freetown?
What do you mean, where's the town of Freetown?
Are you talking about the solar on the roof of this building again?
Where's the town of Freetown?
I'm meeting with the solar company tomorrow.
Huh?
I'm meeting with the solar people tomorrow.
No, except.
So I'll have more information.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay, so then Article 3 isn't a finance committee type item, right? So should we skip it for now, or because you guys?
Well, we vote to take no position,
Okay.
so.
All articles of finance committee are.
that came up last year too. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So actually, maybe finance should be doing votes per.
Yeah.
Because some are and some are not.
Okay.
All right, so can we back up to Article 1 about the conservation? I'll entertain a motion to recommend.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I abstained from that one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We have 60501. Okay, and actually, Article 2, I will entertain a motion to recommend.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Abstains?
Say again?
You with us?
Yeah, I was with you.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, now you can go.
Okay, great. All right, so next is the authorizing the Board of Assessors contract term in excess of 3 years. So this is a bylaw change, right? Or,
Well, we're just,
Alright.
yeah, we're not allowed to exceed a 3-year contract.
yeah,
So this is just requesting that we go to a 5-year.
yeah.
So that the company that does the property appraisals, their cycle will be in sync with the state cycle in terms of the way they revalue properties and the way they collect monies, I think.
That makes sense to me. Any questions or concerns?
Is it just for that single thing, or is it everything that the assessors do? Like what?
It's just for that assessing a consultants,
Okay. Great.
which is in the article.
All right, ready to move on?
All right, I'll take a motion to take no
We
action.
already voted on this, though.
No, this is the next one, the Article 3 about the Board of Assessors contract, which is not
We
financial.
voted
so-
not to take the position because it doesn't have anything to do with us.
Okay, we didn't actually take that vote. Do you want to?
I'll make a motion.
No,
sure.
okay. Second,
I'll second.
all in favor of not taking action?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so Article 4, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $2,400,793.23 for engineering services, architectural project management, bidding, and construction services for an addition, renovation, and equipment for Fire Station Number 3, located at 25 Bullock Road, including site preparation and any related or incidental costs, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into any agreement and execute all documents, including contracts, for terms in excess of 3 years necessary to effectuate the purposes of this article, or take any other action there too. So pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, the funding of the fire station addition renovation is approximately $3 million. But because we're pulling it from 2 different funding sources, this article is coming out of free cash. The next article that follows is capital stabilization. So when Mike McHugh reads these at town meeting, they'll be, he'll explain to them that it's a $3 million, $2,991,000, but because the 2 different funding sources require 2 different levels of vote approval, free cash, you need a 50% majority. Capital stabilization, you need 3/4 majority. So there's 2 separate articles, but this is to secure the funding and to be able to move forward with the fire station addition renovation project.
So,
Does that make sense?
am I to understand that this is going to be a dorm for the female firefighters, basically?
That's part of it for sure.
Oh, but yeah.
What else? What else
It's a
besides that?
bay, it's much more than that, it's a bay, but then above that, we'll have dorms, so that way they have a room so that they can be in individual rooms,
Right.
right, so that male and female can be separated.
What was the beginning of your statement was?
So there's actually, that's above a garage.
It's a
That
2-story.
They'll be able to put more,
Operation.
what, 40 by 70?
It was,
It's 34 by 84.
yes, yeah, that's the proposed plan, 34 by 84 bay with bunk rooms above it and a new day room on the second level.
Don't let that throw you off. It's $3 million, but there's a lot involved with this. I mean, a lot. First of all, it's a union job, so, it's going to happen there. And,
I mean, it's just,
huh? I understand. I had the same reaction when I looked at it. Yeah. And I still have the same reaction. I can't conceive of something 34 by 84 costing $3 million. It just, it's, you know, I'm sure they're gonna prove out that they're worth every penny, our buddies, but it's still to be seen.
And I'm concerned that it wasn't enough money. In fact, I went back to the OPM and said, are we gonna be okay? Because when we're looking at average cost to build municipal buildings right now, it's around $800 a square foot. And we're proposing a little over 5,000 square feet, and it's, you know, which is putting us at 4 million. But given that this is, you know, more of a, it's not necessarily all building, right? It's a bay underneath with the rooms up above. He's assured me that we're fine with our numbers and whatnot. So just so you know, the average cost of a municipal building right now is $800 a square foot. And that's not site work and that's not soft costs, which are your OPMs, your architects, and contingencies. So I'm real optimistic that we're bringing this in at a good number, and it's, you know, we need it.
Are we getting more equipment?
This is not for equipment. This is really for
What's
like.
the garage for then?
This is $3 million for the building. We might need beds and things for the day room.
He's asking why, but George, it's so that they can maneuver equipment that currently can't be stationed there from, well, really, East Freetown side, because none of it's on the Viasona side. So that way it's better positioned for them in the case of an emergency. So,
what equipment are you talking about?
different fire trucks or aspirator.
Ambulance, it's a lot to do with the ambulance.
To different things.
This is all dovetailed to him getting more personnel too. He's looking for 2 more firefighters, and he wants to bring the ambulance from 2 to 3 when this is done. And also, there's going to be additions inside the existing building. We have to change over things inside the original building.
Right. Yeah, because we're taking the bunk rooms out, they're going to reposition that so that it makes, you know, more usable space for them.
Right.
So,
And with more firefighters down the road in the building, it saves time, right? Getting to a rescue is all about time. And if the firefighters have to sit there and clean off the snow off an ambulance, because it's, you know, it snowed for once here in New England or Massachusetts, having that extra bay and that vehicle already set up to go will save you valuable time. And to bring the equipment from one end to the other to make sure that it's covered. So, yeah, it's...
The only thing that bothers me a little bit is we have 3 fire stations, but everything is going Fire Station 3, Bullock Road. That's, the other one's basically not being used. But I remember when we built this fire station, and I looked at the logs and response time. The response time from station 1 and 2 were always a lot better than from the new station. So that's something maybe that should be looked at.
So thinking back to the last meeting, I think Chief Ashley came with the responses have gone up. All right, I think between ambulance 1, ambulance 2, I think it was 1,200 and 400, most recent one. So he did give a statistical output from the past few years to what it is today, and they have gone up.
I think yes, I think that's part of George's question. I think the other part was you're saying the time to the call is what you were referring to.
The response
I don't
time.
remember coming up.
Yeah,
but,
I don't think that came up.
I don't think we
there
reviewed
is some part-time, I don't want to say part-time, there is some hours manning those stations. So I can't, you know, talk about what.
Manning station 2 and 3.
2 and 3. What? No, 1 and 2.
Station 1, Neil is usually there during the day. He doesn't necessarily have to be there, but Neil is usually there. He's Monday through Thursday. Station 2, there are 2 people there during the day hours, Monday through Friday. I think Friday there may be 1 person, but yes, the Station 2 is manned during the day. Station 3 is manned 24/7. Station 1, Neil is generally there during the day doing his paperwork because he does all the inspectional services and whatnot.
And he obviously went into more detail than that, George, as far as you know, other factors with the train and crossings, and you know, there was a lot that he went into, right? So,
Okay.
So why don't we put Articles 4 and 5 together? I'll
Can I
entertain.
just ask why
Oh,
Article
yeah,
4
sorry.
says raise and appropriate if it's coming from free cash?
Yeah.
Isn't it appropriate would be to raise it on the tax recap?
I don't know, I think that's what town council had told me to put in there.
I just want to make sure it's worded right so people don't think we're raising the tax, like it's coming from the tax recap on top of the tax levy.
I can't hear you, Christine, so I'm sorry.
It should be worded, like, I don't want people to think like this is coming from the tax levy. It's gonna, you know what I mean? It's gonna increase the tax levy. Because it's not.
I mean, I've gone back and forth with him about these two articles because of just that. He wanted to put them in one, but the wording was such that it looked like we were gonna increase taxation, and I wanna be clear that we're not. This is money that we have.
Right, raise and appropriate would be to increase your taxes. This would be like transfer from fund.
Okay, I'll check the language.
You know, on this here, according to what it says here, it states that the need is for the bunk space. The bunks for the female firefighters.
Yes.
That's the only reason. That really doesn't make much sense to me, that much money.
So when we started the feasibility study about a year ago, that was the goal, is to get the bunks for the females firefighters. When we finished the feasibility study and we realized there was just so many other deficiencies, I sat in our committee and I said, you've got to give me tell me what your 3 top priorities are for the fire station. And it was the apparatus bay, of course the bunks, number 1, the apparatus bay, and I want to say the third one was like a recon room where they come in their gear that's contaminated and they're able to change out of it before they go and walk through everywhere else and contaminate. And that this addition, trust me, the plan that came back from the feasibility study was originally $5.9 million and had all of what the requirements are today for a fire department of our size. But I was like, we cannot afford that. So I asked them to produce the 3 top priorities, and the plan that we're currently looking at does that. It gives them the apparatus bay, and it will bring the equipment over from Fire Station 2 to Fire Station 3, and also those firemen will be able to come over from 3 to 2. 2 to 3, sorry, from Fire Station 2 to Fire Station 3, so that there's always a man in that station 24/7. If 2 go out on a call, there'll still be 1 behind to man the station and be able to take the second ambulance out if need be. So it was through the process of the feasibility study that we determined that this meets as many of the needs that the fire department needs, not all of them, for the cost balance. It was what we thought was the best that we could do at this point. Just so you know that when I asked for just the bunk room addition, that addition alone was $1.5 million. And that's all it was providing was bunk rooms. So then it became, that it doesn't give the firemen anything else. Yeah. It was an addition off the back. It was 1,500 square feet. So I think it was 30 by 50, and it added the bunk rooms, and that was it. And it just seemed, for the amount of the money, that what we're proposing now with the bay and the bunk rooms above it was the economy of scale. It seemed to be more efficient using the second floor of the bay. Then they get the bay and the bunks. What pushes the price up is that we have to put a sprinkler system in the building. And then, of course, we have to put a cistern to do that. So it does push the price up. And, of course, the minute you hit the $1.5 million amount, you have to hire an OPM. And it's municipal building. It's different than your residential building. I know residential building is a lot cheaper and a lot less expensive and a lot less encumbersome than what we have to do. But this is state mandated, the things that we have to do when you hit $1.5 million.
Shinier.
Does that help to answer your questions?
And it's gonna have solar panels on it.
You're on the committee, Bob, so you're on that committee, so you need to make sure you make your presentation for having solar on
There's a
there.
solar panel committee?
Yeah.
Is there a solar panel committee?
No, you're on the
you're on the
committee
building
for the
committee for
fire
it.
station.
So if there's solar panels, you'll know, let us know.
I'm sure I can get volunteers.
You're on that fire station committee, so I'm sure you're gonna be letting the architect know we need them.
With both feet.
All right, any other questions on these? All right, I'll entertain a motion to recommend Articles 4 and 5.
I'll motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Why does it say why does it already say we already recommended this?
Just as a placeholder. Any nays? Abstains?
No.
Okay.
All right, great. So now I'll move on to Article 6, right? Because you guys did 4 and 5. So
Right.
this is the sale of South Main Street with deed restrictions. So see if the town will vote to transfer the care, custody, and control of the parcel of land located on 4 South Main Street and described in a deed record with the Bristol County Registry of Deeds, Book 2895, page 203, from the tax custodian for tax title purposes, or from whichever board has custody thereof, to the Board of Selectmen for general municipal purposes and for the purpose of disposition by sale or lease, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey said property on such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deems in the best interest of the town in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 30B, Section 16, including, without limitations, reserving or obtaining a historic preservation restriction thereon. And further, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter in any agreement and execute all documents and instruments necessary to effectuate the purposes of the article and or to get any other action. So this is just for the building that's falling apart next to the town hall at the Four Corners. You know, the big red building with
the building
with the tree growing through it.
We already own that.
We own it. We want to sell it.
Good.
With deed restrictions so that it maintains the character of the town, right? So that someone can't go in there and put something that's a fast food joint or something, right? We want to sell it with the caveat being it has to fit the character, like based on, I guess, the historical committee's criteria.
Yeah.
Well, does that mean that they can't tear the building down?
They can tear it down, but all I want is a facade that somewhat looks like historic.
Right.
Even the historic society.
It's a historical building, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. It is.
Right.
But it's also condemned, right?
Correct. Yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
So my question on this
So we own 1 foot around that building, is that correct?
I believe it's 3.
Because I'm pretty sure it's 1, but it could be 3. Let's say it's 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to sell it for what? I mean, who are you going to sell it to? There's no possibility of a septic system or a well or anything on that property.
Yeah, well, the property on the side of it is for sale, so someone who bought it could theoretically buy the property on the side of it and put a septic system. I think that's where the value lies in the property next to it, right? Is that to someone, an outside buyer, buying it to put a septic on it.
So you're hoping that somebody buys the corner lot and that would be interested in the red building.
And to be honest, this is us trying to take the cheaper option, right, from the town's perspective, right? If someone wants to come in and wants to do this, I think there's some value in that, right? Because they could probably get both those properties for relatively cheap at a great location, right? If no one buys it, this sale doesn't go through, well, then the town, we're gonna have to pay for the demolition, pay for the whole thing. So this is us trying to put this out there, see if we have anyone bites at it. If no one bites at it, then very sooner than later, probably within the next year, we're gonna have to, just because it's actually dangerous right now. Like that building's gonna fall over. So then the town's gonna have to pay to demolish it, which is very expensive.
Expensive. There's asbestos in the building.
Right, for the inspector.
Again?
There's asbestos in the building, which costs more to demo the building.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
So in this article, my question is is it too broad, or not broad enough, I should say? What if it does fall down the next year? Should we put something in there that says, it says the last section is, or take any action relative thereto? Well, does that mean if it falls down, we have to?
No, that's just if there's something that happens on the floor at the town meeting that, or.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Because your concern is my concern, is like that building's in rough shape.
Yeah, and best case scenario, I hope someone from town understands the opportunity, buys both lots, and can make something pretty, maybe some kind of small bit, because it's in a district where it can actually be commercial, right? So we can have a little shop there or something, or
Nice bakery would be nice, right?
honestly, I don't think it's gonna happen. I hope it does. I don't think it's gonna happen.
But I'm just curious, how much are you gonna be asking for this place, if you thought of a number?
It's gonna go for auction, right?
Yeah, like a sealed bid.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
so this is an important thing to bring up, because I think the taxes owed on this property are far more exceed its value. So we're not gonna get the taxes that are owed for this property, right? I think it's like.
You actually want somebody to pay back taxes?
No, I don't. And so the reason why I say that is because apparently this was tried a long time ago, and it was either, I don't know if the board select, I'm not sure who at the time, but this is what I've heard, is that the bid was too low, wasn't going to pay back the back taxes, so they refused the sale. Or actually, no, you know what it was? It was a little different than that, but it was something to that
I don't know.
effect.
I know. I mean, I think for us,
The board wanted someone to pay the back.
Yeah, I have no interest in that.
And that's insanity.
I totally agree.
Yeah, especially since you like you mentioned, you can't put a septic or any type of thing unless you had sewer in that street, which we don't. Right now, what Trevor's saying is correct. The hope is someone buys that corner lot and also wants to buy that building. That way, that building is restored to its glory.
Well, everything is kind of by the boards. The fact that nobody put a roof on a goddamn place 10 or 12 years ago so that they could actually save the building and it wouldn't be a wreck now and cost $100,000 to take down. Because you're going to have to take, I don't know, who are you going to get to take that down?
Per the building inspector, the building's about 80% rotted away, timber-wise, 2 to 3 feet of standing water in the basement, asbestos everywhere, and there's many families of different species living and coming in and out of the building. So more than likely,
I understand the reason why you would want to take it down.
Yeah.
My point was, I don't know who you're going to get to take it down.
Yeah,
for that kind of money.
I'm actively getting quotes so that I have, a good number that we work with. If we can't sell it, then come, fall town meeting or next town meeting, we may be looking for the money to do what we need to do there. It's a difficult situation because you have to take it down from the street, close the street, details, police details.
Remediation for the asbestos.
Yeah, so it is going to be a little bit of work, but I have no idea right now what the cost is going to be. I have a speculation, but I'm waiting to get quotes, and that's in the process.
Yeah.
And now, remind, we did try to buy. So the original idea, right, was we tried to buy the corner lot for $150,000 at the last town meeting, and that got voted down because if we own both of those, then it might make sense for the town because then we have a useful lot. We could do something with it, but that didn't go through. So this is really our second try at fixing that problem area, right?
Yeah, I got the point.
Yeah.
I also got the point that the lot that on the corner there for $150,000 is probably one of the most outrageous things I've read lately. But one of the reasons that the voters probably voted it down.
Yes,
I mean, unfortunately, that's what he was asking. I can't dictate the sale of any property, right?
No, I ain't not saying you can ask $1 million.
Exactly.
The question is, taxpayers not going to go for it.
I hear you. But that was our first try. Didn't work. This is our second try. We'll see how it goes. And then we're continuing.
Third try.
Yeah, or I guess since I've been here, this is my second try.
Okay, but there's already been 2 tries.
Yeah, no, I bet there's been multiple, yeah.
It'd be like the schools, you just keep coming back.
All right, any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to recommend.
I'll motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nay? And abstain. What's that?
All set?
All set.
Awesome. Okay. 7, Article 7. So purchase temporary office space, pods, for additional space at the Council on Aging building. To see if the town will vote to amend the vote taken under Article 3 of the October 18th, 2021 special town meeting, appropriating $500,050 for site evaluation, engineering, and design services, project management services, bidding, and construction of the Council on Aging building located on 227 Chase Road, to authorize the use of $300,000 of those funds for the design, building, purchase, and installation of temporary office space, structures, pods, to attach the existing senior center at 227 Chase Road, East Freetown, including any related incidents or costs, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into any agreement and execute all documents, including contracts or terms in excess of 3 years, necessary to effectuate the purposes of this article. So everyone knows what this is about? The pods at the COA?
No.
No?
No, we're buying pods for the COA to give them more room. And the pods are like double wides. And we can move them around and do anything we want. But right for now, the pods are gonna be built for the COA for them to have extra room that they absolutely need over there.
What happened to?
That's still ongoing.
500,000?
The library and all that with the dual library and COA,
No.
that's ongoing, but I don't know where that's going.
I think it was last year, maybe it was the year before already. We voted $500,000.
So there was $550,000
Twice.
originally taken, and then there was $550,000 taken again last year that was supposed to be for engineering and stuff. Well, then what happened was that all kind of changed, and anyone's stop me if I misspeak, but there was $550,000 was taken for engineering and stuff. That was last year. Well, then that's all we put on hold because we've talked about combining COA and library. The COA is saying what we need an immediate fix. So this is the immediate fix. Buying these pods that can then be used somewhere else down the road if need be.
They're self-contained pods, they come with heat and all that stuff.
Okay.
So you see what we're talking about with the fire station, right? To be able to spend this, to be able to get them in, what is it, about 9 months, Debbie?
The lead time between the time we order them and get them, about 9 months. They cost about $250,000. The extra $50,000 is for site work and hookups and anything that we might have to do. We might have to dig the grade down a little bit to set them in place, build some stairs to or from them. So that's why there's a little extra money. What?
Pod. How many square feet to the pod?
The pod is 24 by 60. It's 2 pods, 12 by 60. So the total space is 24 by 60.
24 by 60?
Yeah.
For me at this point.
Approximately how long do they last?
1,440 square feet. I think 15 years to be on the safe side. I forget the warranty on them. But a lot of them have lasted a lot longer, but they'll only guarantee them for so long.
And like my view on this, Elise, is down the road, when the COA does get done, right, we can reuse these. Say we want some additional office space for the highway department, or you want something at the transfer station, or whatever, right? We can use those, and it kind of gives us flexibility down the road. We definitely don't have an excess of space anywhere in town for our employees.
They can be used for storage as well because they're conditioned, right? Heated, air conditioned, and you can put plumbing in them. We're now working on specs. I think Carl, the building inspector, is going out with some people from the COA because I want them to try to really hone in on exactly what they want. So we'll be ready to move on it when and if this is approved at the town. So this is reclassifying some of that money that was originally voted for the addition to buy these pods. So this is not raising new money or taking new money out, out of current taxation. This is reallocating money from a prior vote for the addition and allocating it towards these temporary structures. I got to get away from saying pods because everybody thinks they're like little containers that you're moving. Like temporary office structures, I guess, is what I need to be calling them.
Well, the article says pods a couple times. Yeah. So
I'll try to change it.
I don't know if we want to change that.
I know the other part's always.
I think because we've talked about
Double
pods,
wides.
like the senior center, everybody says the word pods. That's why I kind of put it in parentheses because I'm trying to.
No, I get it. I get
The
it.
other part is you have to put the word temporary, which is always tough because now people think like, temporary, like is it, a month? Is it a year? Like,
Yeah.
It would be nice to have a picture.
I wrote that down. I'm like, we got to get pictures to bring so people can see what they are. Definitely. Good idea, George, but I did write that down.
I have another
They do
question.
have they do have them in a few universities when they have like overflows in specifically UMass Dartmouth, and I mean they were pretty decent. I think there was probably about 5 or so offices just in one, so a decent amount of space.
Yeah.
They had all of health services in one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went and looked at them. I've been there. Quite a few people from the COA have gone to, because there is a place in Lakeville Industrial Park there, right off of Route 44, that they make them. So they're close by to go look at them. And they're really nice. I think when you first hear temporary structure or you hear a pod, you're like, what? But when you go see them, they're going to work, I think, well for what the seniors need, which is just really open space. That's really all they need.
Where is this? Where are they constructed?
Over in Lakeville, Luann might be able to get you the address.
Yeah. It's what,
Yeah.
mod space or
Can you get
something
that to
like
me?
that?
It begins with a W, but I can't remember. But Luann will know.
She's got a picture and everything.
Oh,
Okay.
Look at that.
So good.
The service.
Good call,
Wing it
Luann.
pausing.
Especially at the summer.
Oh, it's a different name.
What's my name? There's a couple companies around here.
I've been working since like 7 a.m. I'm just losing my mind.
I've been like a little, I think even earlier than you. I think I was out the door. I was out the door at 7, so I get up about 5:45 today. I have to bring my daughter to school. I leave about 5 or 7.
Margaret,
Yes.
we voted on Article 4.
Yeah.
But did I miss the discussion on 5?
4 and 5 go together. Together, they were the
Okay,
fire
got it.
station, so we voted on them together. Yeah. All right, any other questions from finance about the pods?
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we accept 7, 8, and 9 as written,
Okay,
please.
On 9, we don't have a lot of money.
I respect that move.
7, 8, and 9.
We don't have a number there. Okay.
Bob, anybody want to second that one?
I'll second.
George, all right, all in favor of recommending 7, 8, and 9?
Aye.
9 just needs the amount on there.
Yeah, 9
doesn't
doesn't,
have
let's just do 7 and 8. 9 doesn't have a figure. 7
Do
and
that
8.
later after everything.
Bob
gets
and George,
Not gonna
all in
have a
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nay? Abstain?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
So let me just explain, Article 9 is blank. That's only gonna be funded if one of the article fails. So if one of the article fails, we'll put it into the capital stabilization. Is that okay with everybody? In terms of where we put it if an article fails?
Okay,
So,
Margaret, I have a question.
yes, George.
2, 3 years ago, I'm not really sure exactly when we did this, but we had put on the budget, and I don't remember the amount, but it was to be able to publicize to the public the warrants prior to the meetings.
Yes,
Are we still doing that? Do we
Yes.
still have those funds?
yes.
And what are we doing?
Well, no. Is it funded or do we just send chief out to do it?
On the
Post
website.
them. It's posted on the website, it's posted,
Oh, you're talking about like the ones like.
where the warrants get posted
Yeah,
beforehand.
go to post office, right? It's the
Yeah.
post
Is it like a
office,
post-
juniors.
Is it like a postcard, you mean, that would go out?
Oh, is that what you're talking about, the postcard that goes
done
out to everybody?
Yeah, so what we had back then, and I haven't seen one, but was basically an informational sheet.
Yeah, there's some mailing.
Yeah, we did that for
Yeah,
the
the
last
postcard
election.
mailing. Typically,
Right, did we do
the
it?
Board of
For the
Selectmen do that for the annual town meeting in June, and Finance Committee does it for special town meeting in October, in the fall. So that's where that
That
postage
goes
comes
to
in.
all addresses in town?
Yes,
Is that?
yes.
Yeah, there is a post office.
Just input from Cheryl.
Cheryl,
I just want to remind you that only the folks who are registered voters are allowed to vote at town meetings. So if you want to cut down your costs, we can get you the reporting. So it just goes to the addresses to those who are eligible to vote and participate.
Oh.
Because not every resident, not every household, you have
Right.
So I just want to put that out there.
But have you looked
Because
at-
that report was never asked of me before. So maybe we can cut down on some funds.
So one thing we need to make sure of, the post service has, I don't remember exactly what they call it, but it goes to every address, period, doesn't matter. What is that called?
Oh, that bulk, are you talking about the bulk mailing?
Mass
Yeah,
mailing?
yeah, it's like a mass mailing, and it's much less than, I think it's 20 cents versus 50.
It's what we use for, it's actually the same thing that we've used for years for census mailing and our confirmation cards for registered voters.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
well, we're good.
But I can get you the addresses that actually have registered voters. So you're not just sending it to households that no one will be able to attend or vote on. I'm just putting it up
Yeah,
here.
well, it's just a matter of how much you spend. Oh, that looks
That was for Earth Day.
good.
Okay.
Earth Day,
I got some bruises from Earth Day myself.
was nice.
Oh.
All right, so going back to Article 9, there is no figure. We'll get that on the floor, meeting, so do we want to recommend
What are you gonna
based
recommend?
on, well, that
What are you gonna
it will be
recommend?
filled,
Whatever figure
recommend
they
to
give
be
us,
filled in.
Whatever figure they put in there, we
won't know until.
agree with.
Right, do we want to the motion can be to recommend the amount to be filled in on town meeting floor,
Yes, I will make a motion.
which,
The latter.
do I have a second? Second, all right, can we just,
Yeah, we should be able to, we have enough
Agree
people.
with how much to be filled in on town meeting floor.
recommend based on amount filled in, yeah.
For that town.
If available, yeah.
Does that make sense? It's getting late.
I know.
I know.
Yeah, we don't want to make a recommendation until we have a number.
But I mean, it's going into capital stabilization, is it a good thing? It's not coming out,
Right,
so.
right,
I don't think.
right.
Yeah, so whether
Right,
it's
so
$5
it's-
or 500,000, it doesn't matter.
Right,
That's true.
Take the latter.
and I think we did this last year.
Yeah.
It was, Kim told us at the end, this is how much is left over, and that's what,
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
okay.
So like Deb said, it's only if something fails, so if they all go through, it's nothing.
Right,
We've done it.
right. All right, we'll just go without Emily.
I'll make a
All in
motion to
favor?
adjourn.
What? Article 9, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Abstain?
No, I said aye.
Okay.
Jesus.
We still have annual town meeting warrant.
Not tonight.
Got any other than me?
I would. Do we have to do the annual tonight, or should we? It's
I don't, we
8:40.
can do it next year, next year. We can do it next week ourselves, so.
And we could do it next week ourselves, right?
We can do it the 15th, it's our final meeting, but, I mean, I don't, if you guys wanna go, maybe we during your meeting, we'll go real quick, make sure we're all on the same page. I think it's gonna make it, just so we make sure that our final warrant, because at the next meeting, it will be final, and we'll be expecting you to sign the warrant.
Yeah. Let me first just vote on the special.
Okay. We have one question from the audience.
Oh, no, I'm just gonna say, because I was here for the warrant articles on the annual for the library, I didn't was gonna have a question, I just wanted to be.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, wanna just look at hers then?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah. That makes sense. No, that makes sense.
You're a trooper.
Let me.
She
No, I get
stayed to listen to see if we had any questions on the library article.
I'm just gonna vote real quick on the special, just to get it out of the way. So I'll entertain a motion that we recommend Articles 1 through 9.
9.
I will make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now,
All right, so that would be Articles 14 and 15 on the annual town meeting. Did you have any questions on the library
I don't know,
grant?
my brain's turning into oatmeal, I'm tired.
At least you're on something.
All right, do you want to give a short,
If we're not gonna comprehend it, I don't know if it's very
okay, okay. I feel bad that you've sat here, but I think I can do the explaining.
Yeah, I
If
think
you don't
it-
want to,
it's
I
in the
think I can
warrant
do the
article written
explaining next week to my committee.
Yeah, you can,
That works.
Okay.
Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, Bob. 8:42. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right.
So,
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
It's overtime.
Try to give you the goal.
Margaret, you know,
I don't know if we need you. I don't know if we need
Next Thursday.
Yeah, you can go.
6 o'clock.
Well, I think you're going, just
Today's
want to go
Wednesday.
quick, right?
Yeah.
I have to. Well, we got like 4 years.
My house.
I may need it.
Might be wine. Could be a week.
All right.
It's next Thursday, not tomorrow, next
Article 1 is our omnibus
6
budget,
o'clock.
which
All right.
we
And
have
email you.
finalized.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a
Best to do that.
FinCom's meeting on the 10th, I'll have a final number that they recommend, and I'll put it in here.
Yeah, I usually do, because lately
That's
they've been-
our omnibus budget. So far,
I'll bring dinner. It will
I
be.
hear you're making dinner next time?
I'm bringing dinner to our meeting on Thursday if you want to come.
Oh, what's for dinner?
So we're gonna go through ours outside.
Okay.
yeah. So the number 1 is just the omnibus budget. It's the beginning of every annual time meeting approving our budget. You've gone through the budget sheets. Unless anybody has any changes, we're gonna probably formalize the omnibus budget. Margaret will have it by the 10th. They will vote on it, and their recommendations will be able to be put in Article 1. The board okay with that?
Yep.
Article 2 is just.
Talked about that one earlier, yeah. It's just
Article
salary.
2 is what everybody's asking for their salaries. It's just what we do, it's a standard article every year. Article 3 is Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, that's their budget. I've been through it, Matt's been through it. That's just sort of a standard article we have every time to approve the water.
Yep.
Because it's an enterprise fund, they have to have it approved separately to take the money out of the general fund to get it into their fund. The spending limits are for the revolving funds. So those are just what these departments think they're gonna need. The revolving funds are where money might come in and then it goes out, so it needs to be in a revolving fund, because police exams, they're gonna charge a fee, they're gonna put it in the revolving fund.
Vaccine, same thing.
Any
Yeah.
questions on that one?
Nope, that makes sense.
Engineering for the Sonnet Four Corners, we've talked about this. This is $45,000 to continue to look at how we can improve the Four Corners intersection and having some engineering done. Any concerns, questions on that? That was submitted by the planning board. The maintenance of the veterans' graves, this is also pretty much an annual standard one. I think they just need $500 and they use that to work on the things. Any questions on that one?
Absolutely not.
The police cruiser, same thing. It's an annual lease purchase program that the police chief puts in so that he can continue to update and keep his fleet of police vehicles in good shape and operating. So every couple of years, every year he buys 2 or 3 depending on what he has for funding. So that's standard. Any issues with that one?
Nope.
The Article 8 is because the way that the fire chief is paid is a bylaw. The bylaw calls for him to be paid 1.8 times the step 3 firefighter, but a couple years ago in the CBA, they added step 4 and 5. So now it was always meant for him to be paid 1.8 times the highest paid
It was a
firefighter.
misprint pretty much in the bylaw, right?
Well, not a
Or the
misprint, but we
CBA.
just need to update it because of the
change.
because they added the steps.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I meant. Yeah.
So he submitted that. I don't have any issues. Do you have any issues
Nope.
with that one?
That makes sense.
Okay. Then reallocate funds for the Chipaway pump station generator. I added, this is a new one. This is because we had article money to put the backup generator for the water system over on Chipaway Road in East Freetown. I was able to, you approved me to get ARPA funds. I was able to get those funds, and actually that
Never used that money, so it's sitting there. So we're
sitting
gonna.
there. But they found all these problems while they're doing it, and they need some money.
Perfect.
And they asked me to get ARPA money, but I can't just ask ARPA for a slush fund. I can't do
Yeah,
it.
right,
So I said,
right.
I can maybe do this, but I
Yeah, because
can't.
we don't know exactly what those.
I can't give them a bill right now and
Bill,
say, ARPA, I
exactly,
need
yeah.
50 grand for this. So this is just so they have money to do those repairs as they come up. Repair and restoration of monuments in the cemetery. This is sort of an ongoing thing as well. They've been trying to keep, the cemeteries need some care, and they're asking for $5,000. Submitted by the Cemetery Commission. I don't have an issue with it. Do you have any issue?
No issue with it.
Transfer of funds from sale of cemetery lots. I think this is a requirement.
Annual one, yep. do it
It's
every
their
year.
money. They have to have an approval to move it. You know about the bylaw
Change, yep.
for the weights and measures. Right now, we pay the state, but we don't collect any. This gives us the authority to bill the users or the owners of the weights and measures. So I don't have any issues with that. Article 13, it might change, but this is setting up a community program revolving fund so that we can have events and charge people and collect the money and put it back in the fund to reuse it. The $6,000 fund, $6,000, I probably am not going to fund it. I'm going to pull that $6,000 out and put it in the omnibus budget. So he will have that available to pay for programming, but
It's not. It can't only be used for that, right?
right. Well, Christine she's an accountant at another time. She said I shouldn't put it in a revolving fund. Revolving fund should be only monies you're collecting from like fees and whatnot.
Yeah.
So she's like, you don't really want to start it and fund it with that tax money. You want to set it up so you can collect the money, but you want the money that you're going to spend to be in the omnibus budget, in his budget, so he can spend it that way.
Interesting. Okay, that
So I
makes
just
sense.
haven't made the change on this. My brain has been on other things, unfortunately. Any issues with that, though?
Nope.
No.
Apply, accept, and expend Mass Public Library. This is the grant. This is necessary for us to apply for the grant which will pay. Actually, you got an email that it will pay up to 75% of the portion of the building allocated to the library.
Oh wow, that's
I just got
big
that
difference.
yesterday.
That's awesome.
That it'll be. I'm wicked excited. I'm excited about
We
the
should put
process.
that in there.
So-
We should put that write that in there.
Okay, because I just got that yesterday.
That way people can't, they know more about it.
And then the the Article 15 is also a requirement for us to apply for the grant. They want to know that you got some skin in the game.
Yeah.
So we won't spend it if we don't get the grant, right? So I think this one may cause a little controversy because people are going to be like, hey, you're taking the seniors' money away, but you're funding the library build. So just be prepared for those questions, and just the answer is basically this is
One
in order
building.
to get the
One
grant.
building that
you know.
does
It's one building that's going to help the overall project, which is
And we're not going to spend it if we don't get the grant money, right? So if it comes down, right now we're waiting for the study to be finished to say how big the library has to be. The good news is there's some report that says our population is going to go down in the next 30 years. So I'm like, oh, does that mean we need a smaller library? Because, their library, like...
our population to go down with the train station coming in.
That's what it said.
All right, let's not
I'm
question
good
it.
with that. And then the last two are funding the stabilizations funds. And one of the reasons that we have the capital stabilization at 300 is because originally we had the 550 for the fire station in our appropriation. We were able to afford that. But I didn't want to split the articles between annual meeting and special town meeting. So we kind of took it out of capital stable. We're taking 550 out of the special, and we're putting 300 back in at the annual.
Okay.
And then 100 in the stabilization fund. My goal is to get the stabilization fund close to $4 million, which is equal to our local revenues, and that, I think, protects us if we have a downturn in the economy and we don't collect those local revenues. We've got a buffer for probably a year or two before we really have to start
That's a smart article.
changing things.
Start yard selling.
Yeah,
Yard sales up.
yeah. I mean, the reality is, when we come to, the reality is when this new building gets to a point where we need funding, I may be like, hey, let's take some out of stabilization, but we're not there yet, and we won't be there for at least 2 years, I'd say.
All right.
What do you think, Matt? Okay with that?
Yes.
You guys okay with all these
Yes.
warrant articles?
I have no issues. So I think With that, I'll entertain a motion to recommend Articles 1 through 17.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, and with that, we're all signed, good to go. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.